measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Barely, JMails24, Unimento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. And with that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Really upset about the maps, Nathan.
You what? Sorry, I was just about to step away. What did you say?
There was some guy in your chat yesterday when your show was on that was really upset about the maps.
Upset
How
about
flat
the
maps don't
maps?
work. Yeah, flat maps don't work.
Okay.
I took a bunch of screenshots. I'll read them to you. She's going to have a laugh with this. And then no matter what I said, okay, fine, but take it up with the people that make the maps. What are you telling us?
You've already pleased me with your response. It's like the whole game has been find some issue with something, in this case maps, and then blame it on the flat earthers. Like, we're responsible for the Ordnance Survey surveying Earth flat, horizontal, level, with linear mile distances. And what's that? You found a flaw? Go and have a word with the Ordnance Survey. Oh, you want to blame me because they're flat? I see. Piss off.
The other angle is they often say, you're just being contrary to every single surveyor that's ever surveyed anything. You think you're smarter than those people?
Yeah, I'll give you this one. You ready? If it's only measured flat, then why is there no flat map showing accurate distances between the continents? It should be easy to make a flat map of a flat Earth. So I said, they're all flat, dumbass, and why are you telling us? Go harass the people that make maps. I say, go harass the map makers. I think, yeah. Then he goes on to say, I've tried, and every ocean gets distorted. Then somebody must ask them why you here, because Oakley cracks me up. Oh yeah, only here for entertainment, huh? By flight distances. Those distances are impossible when all placed on a flat map.
The distances themselves are flat, though. What are they babbling about?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want the distances to be different distances? They'll still be horizontal distances, though.
That's what I said to him. The flat map you're using, right? By flight distances, those distances are impossible when all placed on a flat map. And then he goes on to say, then show flat measurements on an accurate map with all the continents. So now he wants us to make maps.
Yeah, that's where I used to say, come and paint my house. Come and paint my house and give me money to do it.
And his final one is, there isn't one flat map. A flat Earth should be easy to map, but somehow you have no model.
I'm not a model maker. I don't make maps. None of the maps are my responsibility. They're all using horizontal linear distance measurements. That's what the scale shows on all maps that are functional. They are ipso facto flat. Why is this suddenly our burden? Like, I'm sick of this. Get lost. I mean, what I've started to say, people in the chat, is what you'd get if you were in front of me right about now is a broken nose. Because I haven't asked you to give me your opinion. And I've told you to get lost. Go away. I'd sooner hurt you than spend any time in your company. And then they start making their demands of me like, oh, I've got a responsibility to them. No, I've got a responsibility to break your nose if you don't go away. It's true. I hate all of the people from the opposing side who talk to us because they all talk to us in the same condemning, condescending tone. Like they're in a position to tell me off. Like, no, you're not in any position to do anything. You are just some you're just some nobody. You have no significance in this subject, but you feel coming up to somebody else who doesn't make maps and demand that I produce a map is worthy of being told to get lost. If you don't, then it's worthy of inflicting pain on you. You don't want to go away. I've told you, get lost. Well, you still think you can demand things of me? All right, well, now I feel a bit threatened by you, so I'm going to break your fucking nose. Started sharing a clip of a guy in a gym, and two little snot-nosed adenoidal twats come up to him and nick his hat. So he goes, give me my hat back. And the guy, little snot-nosed adenoidal twat, starts laughing at him. Gets a slap in the face. It was hysterical. I've already told you about the black guy. He's actually a security guard. I looked up the video. Two security guards stood outside some bar. Some kid comes up to him with a message that says, can I be your first kiss? Words to that effect. He doesn't show the message. The guy goes, I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah, I'm going to take my time. Bang! Breaks his jaw.
Because that's what would happen in real life.
That's what would happen. On the internet, when these guys think that these adenoidal dweebs who have to be here to live out that persona, that they'd never get away with in reality, I'm going to start pointing it out on a regular basis. You would not get away with this in reality. That's why you're here, talking to me. You're not at the Ordnance Survey telling them that they need to produce better maps with horizontal linear distance measurements and flat scales. You're here talking to me in a way that would get you your nose broken or your jaw bust. In reality. Because people don't tolerate these adenoidal little twats in society. They either completely ignore them, like they're utterly invisible to them, or if they start getting up in their face, they get a slap. Go away. These people know it. They know exactly how they get treated in society. That's why they've developed this little online persona. That's the person they want to be. Really big and buff and brave. Going up to people, making demands of them. Like, no, you aren't that person. Start getting used to it. we've seen your representatives. We know what they look like. They're the best of the bunch. And they're all adenoidal little shit faces too, aren't they?
That's correct.
Little hand-rubbing golems. Saying, actually... And nobody likes you. Nobody likes that person. Nobody likes the guy that corrects everybody when it's not their responsibility. It's different when you're in a workplace and there's a manager telling you you've done a poor job of something that you're responsible for. That's very different. They take that stance. These golems, these trolls, who are shunned in society, and they know it. That's why I'm getting the most hate I've ever got, because I've started pointing out. It's like, we now know it's flat, so let's start looking at the people. Who's this guy? Oh, you're an unfuckable little golem. What a shock. You're an unfuckable little golem and you get your nose broken if you're in front of me saying these things to me. You realise that, right? And they absolutely despise it. Why? Because the truth hurts.
Yeah, this guy's name was Now and In Particular. Who names their kid that?
Nobody. But you can develop a nice little online persona that won't get his nose broken when he starts demanding things of people he's never met before and would sooner hurt him than spend any time in his company in reality. I'm going to start pointing out, they've spent 10 years getting away with telling us that we're not deserving of the air we're breathing, that we shouldn't have kids. Those are the things that we've been told, that we should be jumping off tall buildings. Okay, I'm going to start echoing that sentiment. In reality, you little golem, wouldn't be making friends here. Nobody here would talk to you. We'd all turn our backs on you. Nobody would want to interact with you. You've strolled up to a group of people and started making demands of them, and they've turned their backs on you and gone, go away, we don't want to talk to you. You're unlikable. We don't want to engage with you. We don't want to give you... You certainly don't want to submit to your demands. If you keep making them, it's going to result in pain. That's what's going to happen to you. Because you've been told once, we don't like you. We've been telling you for a long time, we don't want to be around you, but you're still here. So I feel justified in saying those things. Because how would that be? How would that play out in reality? You're in a group, you're having a laugh, everybody's happy, and some unfuckable little golem starts coming up to you making demands about what you'll do for him to satisfy his desires and interests. And you go away. Don't want to spend any time around you. Not only does he not go away, he muscles his way into the middle of the group and starts pointing his fingers at everybody around you. You're like, what are you doing? I've told you once, go away. Then they stay. They don't go away. You go, well, now I feel threatened by you. So I'm going to jump up and down on your head. Yeah? So that you're no longer a threat to me. Because I've told you 3 times to get lost. So I'm going to make these people who come here making demands of us. I already know the score. I've been doing this for 12 years. I know Earth's flat. I know it's measured flat. There's nothing going to change how a mile works. Ever. Nothing's going to change how flat south is. Directions only work on a flat Earth. That's a term that I'm going to start using because I've had it pointed towards me for 12 years. This, that and the other insert bullshit only works on a globe. Sound familiar? No. Directions only work on a flat Earth. Miles only work, that is to say, they are only put to practical application on a flat Earth. You're never going to show me a map with a curved scale. They only work on a flat Earth. Elevation angles only work on a flat Earth. And the only response they've had up until now, without us saying only work on a flat Earth, is, oh, well, it's locally flat. Like, you're damn right it is. Because the angle we're measuring Earth with only works on a flat Earth.
I love it. Because that's the truth.
I don't even know if I like the that conclusion, like saying it only works on flat Earth is true. But it's like it suffices to say that it's. I mean, look, they're obviously using it flat.
Yeah, exactly. They're using it flat because it can only work flat.
Only works. It's like they're using it that way, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're saying it's redundant, and I agree with you. I'm mirroring what we've had put to us in the contrapositive for you, 10 years, me 12 years. We've had it put to us in the contrapositive. It'll only work on a globe, is what we were told. Celestial navigation only works on a globe. No. Elevation angles only work, that is to say work, meaning put to practical application, on a flat plane. This diagram on screen that you can see in the Hangout is a depictorial example of a flat Earth elevation angle only working on a flat plane because it can only work on a flat plane. Now, it's redundant because that's what an elevation angle is. Elevation means from surface. That's what elevation is. Angle means two straight lines meeting at a vertex. That's what this is. So to say it only works flat is redundant. So in that respect, Eli, I agree with you. That's the rhetoric I've been stamping out for the last few months. But that's not functionally sufficient to let some tosspot troll who's making demands of us realise that we're done with him, we don't want to deal with him or her anymore, we want them to go away, and because they're demanding answers, the dismissal statement is only works on a flat Earth, I'm afraid. Navigation only works on a flat Earth. Maps only work on a flat Earth. I agree, redundant. They are already flat, like this angle. But that's what we've had to listen to. So it'll be in a language they're familiar with. That's the only reason I'm saying it.
Agreed.
And it'll be followed up with, now get lost. Yeah? Now go away. Now I don't want to be around you. And if they continue to talk to us, I'd say, look, let's make this absolutely clear. If you were in my presence and you were still here after I've told you to go away, I would break your nose. Yeah? Why? Well, because I feel threatened by you. I've asked you to remove yourself from my presence and you're still here. I find that quite threatening. Therefore, I feel justified in stamping on your head. Just to remove the threat. Now, I gave you plenty of opportunity to piss off, and you didn't. You were still here making demands of me. Now, it's not like I didn't give you what you wanted. You wanted to engage with me in a discussion that I've got a YouTube channel about, and I have. I've told you. This angle on screen only works on a flat Earth. You've come to talk to me about it. I've given you your answer, but only because I'm a very kind guy giving some wanker the time he doesn't deserve. Now, maybe that's too much, but afterwards I've told you, you've got what you wanted, now go away. Now, twice is too many times as far as I'm concerned. If you don't take the message after I've reiterated, we would rather hurt you than spend time in your company. You're not our friends. We don't want to be around you. And they're like, well, I don't. What was the response I got? My attitude has changed since speaking to that guy that's been hanging around us on mute for a year. Then he suddenly comes off mute. And when I tell him, I don't want to be around you, I don't like you, I don't owe you anything, his response was as follows, and I quote, "You are my favourite," end quote. That's what he said. That's because secretly these people do want to hang around us, and they do hang around us. So, okay, we don't want you to hang around us. We don't like you. If you're in a bar, we wouldn't be talking to you. If you came up to us, we'd turn our backs on you. And if you insisted on talking to us after we've made it clear we don't want to talk to you, turned our backs on you and asked you to go away, that's when you get a broken nose. That's just how society behaves. As soon as an animal feels cornered and threatened by some unfuckable little golem who's decided he's going to insert himself into your social group, then the cornered animal will react with claws, won't it? Like you're inserting yourself into a group that doesn't want you here. I've told you, you can have what you want. You want me to say it's a ball. Well, it is on screen, a ball with surface level and eye level parallel as per the measurements of the surface level and the parallel eye level, with a ball beneath it. So just take the last little bit that I said, with a ball beneath it, beneath the flat Earth measurement prerequisites that are labelled as eye level and surface level, and believe you're on a ball. Have it. It's on me. Now go away, because we don't want to spend time with you. I find your subject, that's this on screen, this surface level measurement with a parallel eye level measurement with a dingleberry beneath it, tedious and boring. And the fact that you are utterly fascinated by how globe-shaped the world isn't when we measure it flat is tedious to me. I find you annoying, I find your subject boring, I don't want to talk about it with you. The fact that I work in this subject doesn't mean that I take pleasure in talking to unfuckable golems about it. I don't. Now, the fact is I get paid to tell an audience how flat Earth is measured. That's what I get paid for to keep the mortgage paid. That's what I do. Does that mean that if you're in a bar with me, by equivalence, and I was an engineer or a mechanic working on clutches all day, that I'm owing you an explanation of how clutch works? Absolutely not. Especially not when you're a spot-faced, unfuckable golem who's decided to just insert himself into the conversation with a load of mechanics who are out watching the football. They're not out there to talk to you about your clutch. But you decided that you want to tell the engineer who works on the car that Ford are wrong in the way they build their clutches. You're like, go and speak to Ford. What's that? Because we talk about how maps work, you think that I'm now responsible for the map. Wrong. The guy who works on your Ford isn't responsible for how shitty Ford put clutches together. He just changes your clutch at a fee. And then when he's done with his job, he wants to go to the bar and not talk to unfuckable golems who decide that, oh, I recognise you, you're the mechanic who worked on the clutch. You do realise that the flywheel on the clutch isn't designed in the correct way. It needs to be within 2 millimetres of... You're like, bang! Get lost! Why are you even talking to me? I told you last week to piss off, and you're still here.
That's funny. Yeah, the guy's there on his leisure time because he worked all day, and he got this dweeb coming in here, telling him about clutches.
That's how I see it. Once I've finished doing my broadcasting job, there's a certain amount of time that I'm willing to dedicate to the messaging services that eBay, you can see what frame of mind I'm in, that YouTube provide. Like, but for the most part, when I'm dealing with these guys constantly, I mean, I've had tens, if not hundreds of thousands of messages over the years I've been doing it. And I have spent huge chunks of my personal time on this. Now I'm saying no more. No, I'm just going to tell you to get lost. While I'm doing my show, I will talk about how flat Earth gets measured because I'm a subject matter expert in flat Earth. That's just a fact. Does that mean that I owe you something because it offends your belief? No, it does not. No, I've had that wrong for 10 years. I don't owe these people a damn thing. They think they're entitled to something, don't they?
Yes, they do. And if you don't give them answers, boy, do they get upset.
Yeah. They behave in a way that's a little bit threatening, like angry with you. Yeah, like I say, justifiably, I can describe how these people who have been told to get lost, that we don't want to spend time around them, are now getting upset, behaving aggressively towards you, making their demands. You know, yeah, in reality, you'd have your head stamped on. It is just that simple. Yeah? So I'm going to make it clear a couple of times, we don't want to be around you. Yeah, I already know it's flat. You don't have to accept that. I don't care if you've got questions about it anymore. Who cares what your questions are? And most of the time, the questions aren't even directed to the right people. They're directed to us, rather than the people who manufacture GPS on a Cartesian flat system. I'm not making GPS. Why do you think I'm responsible to explain how it works? Well, because I understand how it works. Does that mean I automatically owe you an explanation of it? Or the arbiter of how it should function, based on your belief in a ball that isn't functional with this Cartesian flat system? No, I'm not responsible to give you anything. Go away, please. I was enjoying talking to my friends. Now can you leave us alone? No, you've got to tell me about GPS and how it works, because it only works on a globe. End quote. Baller who's just been told to get lost. Yeah? Oh, well, I don't want to be around you. I'd sooner cause you pain than spend any more time in your company. Go away. No, I deserve a bang! No, you deserve a broken nose. Now you're on the floor bleeding. You going to go away now? Now you can crawl away.
Yeah, and you get messages throughout the weekend, and how Nathan is urging, you are part of this, urging flat earthers to abandon flat earth. You are no different than Jaren. Yet each day you want to teach about the globe you don't believe in preference to the flat earth you believe in, but cannot talk about it. Like a preacher telling the congregation to leave. Let people believe in the devil. What difference will it make? That's on you as the underboss.
Is that a misinterpretation of what I'm actually saying? Earth is measured flat, and that won't change. You trying to convince somebody who's convinced themselves that it's a ball based on those exact same flat Earth measurements, you're not going to influence those people. Yeah? They're either, I don't care, I've still got to pay my mortgage, or no matter what you say to me, it will still be a ball. So why are you wasting your breath? Regardless of if you convert them from what? They were using flat Earth measurements to begin with. If I say to you, the guy who understands what I've just explained, which is that Earth is measured flat, that you can stop concerning yourself and turn your back on those very same people. You'll have a line of fart-sniffing flat earthers tell you it's your due diligence to waste your God-given precious time on this flat plane talking to people who do not want to be converted, and I'm going to be painted as the bad guy for that. On the contrary. Now, I'm not like Jaren. I'm not deserting anything. Earth's measured flat. Now, I will continue to disseminate that information to my audience on the daily. That's what I do for a living. But the people who don't want to hear it are being told, go away. You can have your ball. Because I'm not going to take you off it regardless of what I say. And what I say is it's measured flat to achieve your ball. Did that change their mind? The fact that they require a flat Earth as depicted on this diagrammatical example? No, it didn't change their mind. No. What they said was, jump off a building, have your balls cut off, and we'll have your kids off you. So is it not surprising that I don't want to associate with these people anymore? It doesn't change how flat I know Earth is measured, though, does it? It won't change how I point that out on a daily basis. So I'm not walking away from Jack. On the contrary, what I want to walk away from is the fart-sniffing flat earthers that feel it's their due diligence or obligation to tell people who don't want to fucking hear it how flat Earth is, when it's flat regardless of the discussion. It's flat whether or not this dickhead who's telling you it's a ball knows how flat his measurements are required to be or not. And if he finds out how flat they are required to be, I absolutely assure you he won't suddenly relinquish his ball faith just because you've told him how flat the globe Earth he believes in is required to be measured so he can calculate into existence his belief that you're trying to relinquish him of. Number one, he's got no bearing on anything. He's not measuring anything. He's just some dick who strolled up to you in the bar and started asking you how clutch works because he saw you in the mechanic's office. Yeah, that's what he is. He's not working at Ford. So why'd you care if you convince him how clutch works? Do you think he's suddenly going to change the world with a new clutch design? No. So it's a waste of your time. Time is precious. Yeah. Now, I want to make that absolutely abundantly clear to my audience. Your time is valuable. And what I am offering you as a YouTuber is the ability to save time. If you're already here and your raison d'etre is to tell a guy who doesn't want to hear it how flat it needs to be anyway, then you are wasting your time. And I can help you with that. You've got very limited amount of it. So don't waste it. Now, does that change that I'm going to continue to make YouTube videos about how flat Earth is? Of course not. There's a one world religion that everyone's on a ball, and that ball they all believe they need to believe they're on requires flat Earth measurements. So I'm going to happily point that out. What's that? You don't want to hear it? Well, I wasn't talking to you. Go away. Stay on your ball. I don't care if you believe it or not. It's inconsequential to how Earth gets measured, isn't it?
Yeah, you're getting labeled as controlled op now.
Don't care.
The stance you're taking.
What, my path that's saying Earth's measured flat in absolutely no uncertain terms, that all the measurements only work on a flat Earth, that makes me a controlled opposition. Opposition to who? There's no one to oppose me. Anybody who measures Earth flat will agree with me when they measure Earth flat because it's required to be measured in that way. Okay, you want to think I've got an opposition? Show me an opponent. Because there aren't any. What there are is a load of unfuckable little adenoidal dweeds who will tell me I'm wrong when I point out that South's flat. No, South's flat. It's not like it's up for debate, is it? Now, you can either accept how flat the directions on a fucking compass are or not. So there is no opposition. Our refracted curvature phrase is absolutely spot on. What exactly is the point of contention here? You don't like how flat South is. I don't give a shit what you like. Yeah, couldn't care less. It's inconsequential to how compass works. You are not the arbiter of how our compass works, and neither am I. So utterly inconsequential for us to have this discussion. If I convince this unfuckable adenoidal troll that a compass works the way it works, will that change something? No, like with the clutch example, he's not the arbiter of compasses. He's not a compass manufacturer, and even if he was, he wouldn't change how a compass works. So why would I spend my time arguing with him? He's not an opposition to me. He's just somebody that doesn't want to accept how fucking compass works. So opposition, controlled opposition? Opposition to what? Everyone measures Earth flat. It's just you, the guy who's labelling me, have no bearing on it. Oh, and if you can make Nathan something else, then maybe that'll make you feel better. You know, I'm not making the compasses. I'm not making the maps. I haven't decided how mile functions. I haven't produced map scales. I'm not producing elevation angle measurements. I haven't created the celestial sphere. I haven't produced any meridians. I'm not the arbiter of how Polaris gets measured. I haven't produced the latitude grid. I'm not the controller of GPS. I haven't produced any Cartesian grid systems for coordinates that have come from flat Earth measurements of the lights in the sky to functionally operate on a flat Earth only. I am not responsible for any of those things. Notice how concisely I can list them off, though. Yeah? What's that? Controlled opposition. Do you want to show me who's in opposition to me? And I'll very quickly point out to you and them that they're not in opposition to me. They can deny how flat Earth gets measured, but that doesn't make me my opposition, because they're not going to change how compass works. They're not going to change how a mile works. They're not going to change the map scales that are flat. They're not going to change the elevation angles. They're not going to change the entire basis of their belief. They're stood in, not on a ball. And I don't care. When I say they can have it, that's not me in a church saying go to the devil. But you can believe that if you want. Again, those people were just under the surface calling themselves flat earthers and subscribe to me. And I said it last week. I don't want them either. These fart-sniffing conspiratards can all fuck off. I'm sick of them. They're part of the bleeding problem, because they're creating the impression that there is an opposition to them, because they like arguing and sniffing their own farts when they can lord it over some ignorant bull believer about how heliocentrism doesn't work because they've studied how it does. Well, I don't care what you do in your time that is precious. If you want to spend your time arguing about how ball-shaped the world isn't, when the ball's based on flat Earth measurements, then you, fart sniffer, conspiratard, are wasting your time. Good. Unsubscribe from me if you're that person. You can paint me as the devil worshipper if you wish, but I'm not. Absolutely without question. You are a time waster. You want to argue with people because you believe that they're in opposition to you, when I understand how flat they and I will measure Earth when we measure it. The fact is, neither of us are, though, are we? But the people who do will still measure it in the same flat way they always did, and they will continue to do long after you're dead.
Exactly. Everything you said, it all goes down to the measurement. So we may not be map makers, we may not be any of these things, but we do know how Earth is measured, and they do too. It can only be measured flat. How would you get any type of distances?
But I don't care if they know. That's probably where people have taken me the wrong way in how I've been putting it. It makes no difference if you know how Earth is measured, unless you're actually out there measuring it. Then ipso facto, you'll have to measure it flat. That's how it gets measured. You'll have to map it flat. That's how it gets mapped. You'll have to chart it flat. That's how it gets charted. You'll have to survey it flat. That's how it gets surveyed. You'll have to utilise a flat surface for the angle measurements to the stars. That's how they get measured. But you aren't doing any of those things. You're on the internet telling somebody who's got no bearing on it, that's me, a flat earther, how wrong I am. And I'm sick of it. I don't care. If you're a flat earther and want to sniff your own farts because you've suddenly gained some knowledge of heliocentrism and you want to lord that over next man, do that away from us. Now, after 12 years, we know the score now, and I will communicate that to an audience on the regular. It's flat, that's how it's measured. Not by you, not by me. I've never measured it, because I don't care anymore. I won't be moving forward to pretend I'm measuring it with elevation angles during a 24-hour sun tracking, because I know that that didn't have any influence on anything. Didn't produce any maps, it didn't change the calendars, it didn't give us a new time system. Didn't do anything. So get over yourselves. Same goes for the opposition, who think that by measuring Earth flat thousands of times is going to somehow change the world. You're wrong. But you are wasting a lot of people's time. Now, to those people, I've always said, YouTube hat on, good on you. You're making money from YouTube. You've found a source of material that you can put out to an audience and make a profit from it. Good for you. Talking to the Simon Dans and the Craig McNeils and the Fugly Dave McKeegans. Good for you. Well done. As a flat earther, I don't care about what you think about the surface of Earth because it gets measured flat regardless of your opinion. As a YouTuber, I congratulate you for eking out a profit where I get censored. Good for you. You saying that it's a ball because you've measured Earth flat 1,000 times is the route to profit, where me saying we measure Earth flat and not adding because it's a ball on the end of it means I get censored where you get profit. Okay, so you're eating my lunch. Okay, good for you. Yeah, I've got the humility to say, fair enough. I'll take it on the chin. I appreciate that there's a one world religion. They don't really want me pointing out that in order to achieve that one world religion, Earth will and can only be measured flat. What's that? You would rather be in argument with these people, therefore I'm a shill. Good for you. Yeah, does it change my message? How many times in this last sentence did I say Earth's measured flat? 5? That's because it's measured flat. Now, if you want to perceive me as being like Jaren, what a scumbag who went back to the ball with a description of how heliocentrism works, it doesn't. What works, that's being put into practical application, is distance measurements. They're flat. Elevation angles, they're flat. Cartesian grids that are flat. That's what works. As in being put into practical application, doing work. A flat Earth is all that works. Facts.
Well, then explain to me the South, flat earther.
South's flat.
No, you can't just get away with saying it's flat. Everything is wrong in the South.
Bang! Get the fuck out of my face, you unfuckable little golem. Go and buy a compass. Nobody asks for your opinion. Why are you standing in this group telling us that I need to prove how South works? Am I a compass manufacturer? The fact that I understand our fucking needle points doesn't mean that you can come up to me while I'm enjoying a beer with my friends and start making demands of us. In society, you'd get a slap. It is that simple. Yeah, you don't get to stroll up to random strangers and start making demands about how Ford produced their clutches because you saw the guy working in a mechanic shop. That doesn't mean you get to demand anything of that guy. And when you start making demands of it, like the guy who's working security that get asked for a kiss, you get punched in the jaw. Like the guy that decides to interrupt some guy's workout by nicking his hat. Yeah, demanding that he gives him attention. Yeah, you get a slap for that. That's what you get in reality. Not, oh, right, well, let's have a little argument because it's my due diligence to convince you of something that you will never be convinced of. The only reason you've strolled over here is because you're in pain over it. And you're arguing about the way a needle points on a compass. Absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, it's sort of like a bus driver pulls up to a stop and a guy gets on and starts screaming at him that all the wiring in his house is wrong. Now go fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I prefer my clutch example, but that's fine too. With the clutch example, the guy's physically working with clutches. Like on screen, we're working with, this is me working. This is me at work. And what am I working with? Well, I'm working with this elevation angle diagram that's got a depiction of a degree measurement that requires the lines be straight with respect to the horizontal plane of reference that the observer is standing on. End quote, sustainable by design. What's that? You'll now approach sustainable by design and tell them that they need to add to their definition of how an angle works. Okay, why are you telling me this? Well, oh, because I work with elevation angles as defined as being in requirement of a horizontal plane the observer is standing on, and therefore you feel it's my responsibility to amend how I speak. And if I don't, you'll go to the people I cite and tell them to amend their language. So you're like a barking little yappy dog, making your little yappy demands. Yeah, well, little yappy dogs, yeah, eventually their owners get a slap because they can't keep control of their yappy little dog. You're the yappy little dog, and your owner is the globe. It owns you. Yeah, like the clutch guy? No, so what? So I fit clutches, and you think that I'm going to listen to you bore me about how Ford don't produce them correctly? I couldn't give a crap. Go and speak to Ford. What they'll do is they'll pay you lip service, at best, because they want to keep you as a customer. Like sustainable by design. What's that? You need me to add to this definition? Yeah, no worries. You think sus design are the arbiters of elevation angles? No, they're not. They just happen to be somebody who defines them. Like me. Saying, an elevation angle includes the word elevation because it's with respect to Earth's surface, which must be flat for it to form part of the angle. The other part of the angle is an imaginary line between you and a light in the sky. End quote. Nathan Oakley, defining what an elevation angle is, with the use of the word elevation, specifically tying it to the flat surface that forms part of the angle. You're going to tell me that I'm wrong? I'm not the arbiter of how an angle works. Just because I can eloquently put it into English language doesn't mean that I'm actually responsible for how this on screen functions as an angle. It just means I can define it. But approaching me and telling me that I need to change how I define things won't change what an angle is.
I like the clutch thing because isn't the clutch working? Isn't it working fine?
Yes. Yes, we're talking about something that's actually in functional operation when they come along and say that it's got a design flaw. You're like, well, that car's moving along quite happily now. I've put that new clutch in. And you're like, yeah, but the tolerances on these Ford... You're like... Look, I've dignified you with an answer, and we're watching the football. Can you go away now? No, because you need to listen. You need to understand. I don't need anything. Go and paint my house. No, you need to... You're like, you're verging on getting a slap, right? You don't seem to understand. I don't want to be around you. You aren't pleasant. Yeah? And that's the reality, isn't it? Is anybody going to deny that these people who tell us that we should jump off tall buildings to prove their belief in a gravity have our balls removed so we can't produce children? If we've got them, we should have them taken away from them. Do you think you're pleasant? Do you think you're nice people? No. Society hates you. Not me. Society hates you. The kind of person who has been pouring scorn on me as a flat earther for over a decade. You are despised in society. I'm going to start pointing it out to you on a regular basis. Now, you're not a pleasant person, yeah? You think that because you've got a belief in a ball, you're in somehow justified going around making demands of random people who have absolutely no bearing on how elevation angle gets measured, how flat the scale on a map is. No. Just because I point those things out doesn't mean I'm the arbiter of them, and it absolutely doesn't mean that you've got any right to make any demands of me. So, we'll start pointing out. In spite of your demand, which has now been addressed, I've addressed it, haven't I? I've been here 10 years, you've had it addressed. Now I'm past that. Now I'm saying I'm sick of being around you, you're all deeply unpleasant people. So go away. And if you can't, I'll start pointing out how society, that's not me, that's the people at large, would beat the living piss out of you if you were still in their presence after telling you to get lost. Now you know that. That's why you're here in my comment section, isn't it? Because you can't play out that persona in reality. You'd never get away with it. Me, I'm exactly the same. Meet me in reality and you'll see I'm exactly the same. You don't get away with carrying that persona anywhere beyond the lines of text on the internet. That's as far as that persona you've made up for yourself will ride. That's as far as you can get it to function.
Well, Nathan, they're doing society a service because if everybody starts saying Earth is flat, you can't have that. That's what they put in their heads, that they're doing society a favor.
Yeah, but they've missed the boat with that as well. It's like, it doesn't need a defence council. If you suddenly had complete consensus for flat Earth, like these people are saying, oh, we can't have that. No, you can't face that cognitively. But in reality, it doesn't need a defence council. An angle of elevation does not need a defence team. A mile on a map doesn't need you to A, understand it, or B, communicate it to others. If the consensus understood that a map... Sorry, why am I making this as a statement? The map's got a flat scale on it regardless of if everybody understands it or not. What's that? If everybody understood how flat maps are and how flat the scales are and how flat miles are and how flat elevation angles are, what? They are anyway! So who gives a shit? Doesn't need your approval. And your disapproval of people finding out what? That it's flat anyway. It was anyway.
How's the book coming along? You do anything over the weekend? Or you just had a nice relaxing weekend?
Had a nice relaxing weekend. We're on chapter 11. There's two
Nice.
more full chapters to do that are like subject chapters, more than 2 pages, let's just say. And there's 3 more anecdotal chapters to do. So in total, 5 chapters. Realistically, 2 of them are going to take, 2, 3, 4 days, maybe less per chapter. And then the other ones will take a session and they'll be done. So a couple of weeks, I would estimate, and we'll be reading through the entirety of the book as a complete book and making minor alterations to it. From memory, there was one of the chapters, my wife and I disagree on this, but from memory, there was one chapter that we went through once, made some corrections, then went, it's taken such a long time, let's just put it in the book as is. Her recollection of it is that we went through it multiple times and just wouldn't go through it one last time. And I'm like, that's not my recollection. I remember going through it once and then sticking it in and saying, we'll just address it when we go through the next read through. So from memory, there's at least, in my opinion, one chapter in the full book read through that will need work, whereas the rest of them will be minor corrections. And then, like I say, there's the 2 main chapters that need to be edited and 3 anecdotal chapters that need to be edited. And then once those are done, they'll be in the book and it'll be complete. In reality, that's when it's basically done. That's when it's 99% done. Because reading through and making minor adjustments to spelling is, due diligence more than anything, because it's basically done once we finish this editing process. Because my wife has been obviously changing spellings and punctuation the whole time anyway, as we've been going along. But there's going to be certain things that have slipped her by during the process, and that'll get addressed on the next read through. That's when I'm going to need you guys there for every chapter, if possible. I mean, obviously you're under no obligation to be anywhere, but when we go through it, I will go through it each day, just reading through as long as it takes, or as long as we can get through in a couple of hours, and then stopping and then doing the same the next day till we're at the end of the book. That might take a week, but by the end of that, I'm hoping that we've read it through all the way, cover to cover, with all the spelling errors and such like ironed out. I mean, the publisher was always of the opinion, don't worry about it, just publish it as is, and as corrections need to be made, you can do them on the fly with the electronic copy, and that's what gets, that's what irons out that version so that it can then go to print. But I would prefer that the very first copy that gets released is exactly the same as what goes into print. That's the ideal. No adjustment needed. And, to my financial detriment, I want to keep it as tight as possible when it gets to the first publication in electronic form, so that it is just as good as it can be. And you're not getting an early edition and going, oh, well, my copy's actually got a spelling error on page 74. You're like, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, we're in the home stretch now, Nathan.
Yes, very much so. I couldn't come sooner. My YouTube ad revenue, it dropped by about 50% last year, and now it's down by another 20 or 30%. Now, the numbers are pretty much as they are. I mean, they're a little bit lower than they are typically or have been in the last few years. But as the censorship has increased and there's been an overarching change throughout YouTube last year, now I'm so freaking poor It's just not even funny. So I absolutely need the money. And now I did, when I first came up with the idea, or when Tenth put it to me that it might be an idea to write a book, I was struggling then. Now, don't get me wrong, I've mitigated to a degree with microphone sales over the last 12 months, but that's running out now. I've got 24 listings left. And throughout the year, I had between 70 and 100 for every moment that was passing. So, I was producing 1 to 2 sales each day, and that was absolutely mitigating for the huge reduction in ad revenue. But now it's like on the horizon is just a huge reduction in ad revenue that won't cover my outgoings. So I need the book to be out there really making sales and producing money, which it will. I'm certain it will sell. At the very least, it'll sell initially, and then if it just falls on its arse after 6 months, let's just say, then there's a whole row of microphones that are behind me that can then start a new eBay store. And instead of me keeping them all as like trophies and mementos that can be used in this studio if it's ever used to record music, they'll just be put in an eBay box instead of in a box on my shelf. So that's what I'll do if that has to be done. So I've got a little backup plan with 30, say, microphones that could go up for sale. And I'll put them up for sale if I don't have any success out of the book. And obviously I can't guarantee that'll be successful. Say again?
What do you mean if there's not success? It's going to be a success. You spent years on this. Stop downplaying it. Like, I understand there's maybe a little bit of a fear that it's going to flop. That's everybody. It's not going to flop, Nathan.
Well, I'm glad you've got confidence. There's no guarantee of anything. You can produce the best product in the world. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful, especially initially.
If people are interested in the topic and you have a very successful show, you've been going for years now, you've made it through what people have packed it in and gone back on a globe, it's going to be good. I'm telling you. I just got that gut feeling. I feel it in my bones, Nathan.
I hope so, Neil. I really, like I say, I need it to be successful because I'm running out of money again. And that's because instead of having a mic sell each day, I've no longer got enough stock to sustain a mic sale a day. So it's a mic sale every 4 days. So it's like, and if that item's £3 or a tenner, you're like, yeah, that's not going to pay the bills. But as soon as the book comes out, it will hopefully generate some revenue. And it gives me the inclination to go out on other shows promoting it. And
there you go.
That's going to hopefully make a difference to more than one aspect of what I do. So it'll introduce me to an audience that isn't necessarily aware that I even exist, more likely than not completely unaware of my existence. And they'll be pointed in the direction of the book. They may or may not buy it, but they may just check out my channel, which will obviously increase the number of people who are coming to the channel, therefore increase the ad revenue. So that in itself might mitigate for, the decrease in ad revenue that I've sustained over the last couple of years. And I said this a couple of weeks ago, as a YouTuber, you have to kind of reinvent yourself regularly if you're going to stay relevant. So when people are like, you controlled opposition, you're like, no. What's happening is there's a transitional period from debate where we, in order to sustain having a debate, had to be unsure or not completely sure of the circumstances that we were arguing about, or there wouldn't be an argument. Now we're in the latter stage, which is there isn't an argument. The perception of an argument is dependent on everybody measuring Earth flat. So there isn't an argument anymore. Now that means that I've got the absolute confidence in what I say when it comes to somebody else who disagrees. It's not that I don't want to argue. It's that there isn't an argument to have. There's somebody like the guy who we talked to last week who doesn't want to accept how their flat earth use is a prerequisite for their discussion that they want to call a debate. They'll say things like, okay, I understand that a mile's flat. Let's just take that as read and argue about this map. It's not... You're like, I don't give a shit. The second you tell me that we've got to take it as read that we'll use this flat earth measurement, that's you saying... Can I just use this flat earth prerequisite measurement so I can argue with you about our globe shaped? You say it isn't. You're like, no, No, I won't just accept that you'll use a flat Earth measurement to move forward, having then ignored and disregarded how flat you measured Earth to argue about a ball shape you say I say it isn't. Because I'm not going to do that bit anymore. Have your ball. Yeah, with your prerequisite of a flat Earth measurement. I've pointed out that it's a flat Earth prerequisite. Now you don't have to accept it, get lost. Nobody asked you for your opinion on the matter. Your opinion won't change how flat these measurements are, so get lost. What's that, you're still here? Bang! Now you've got a broken nose. You should have listened the first time when I told you to fuck off. We're not doing that anymore. You want to continue fighting? All right, well then you'll get a bloody nose. Because I'm not for fighting. I'm for telling you to get lost, because we already know the score. You require it to be that way too. Now, having pointed that out, there's nothing more for me to do. You wanting to continue to engage in a discussion when the discussion is clearly over is threatening. That's why I'm saying you'll end up with a broken nose. Societally, inserting yourself into a group of people that do not want you around them will end up in you in pain. It's just a fact. Now, that fact has led these unfuckable, ugly, adenoidal golems to insert themselves into discussions online where they perceive that they can't be gotten rid of. Oh, well, if you tell me to go away, I'll just create 100 new accounts. You're like, yeah, what, like the unfuckable golem that you are? Yeah, well, that's okay. I'll just make you acutely aware of why you have to do that. Because society doesn't like you. That's why you're here doing it. Because you can't get away with that in the real world where people measure Earth flat and use maps that have got flat scales and elevation angles and Cartesian grids for GPS coordinate systems on a flat plane. That is how it's done. You not liking it or thinking, oh no, if everybody thought that the world was flat. It's like, no. People's thoughts on the matter aren't what we're dealing with. The measurements are flat and always have been. For you too. Now, you've got that information from me. Now, fuck off.
Well, that guy, Alpha Murphy 72, when you told him to take a walk, he was like, what kind of business plan is this? Like, they can't comprehend that we don't want to deal with it anymore. Just go away.
Yeah.
Because they're only looking at it like, what are you doing? You got a YouTube channel. Why are you telling me to go away? I'm supposed to be here arguing with you.
Exactly. You need to want me. You're a YouTuber, therefore you have to desire my presence. Fuck off. I'd rather stamp on your head.
Well, as far as the book goes, you're going to have your fans. You know, you have people that like you. They're your subscribers. You're going to have great success with them. And then it all comes down to how much you promote it and how much you put yourself out there onto different platforms promoting the book. So I think you'll be all right.
I just need to appeal to people to give me more names, which has taken a stop over the weekend because I haven't been producing content and asking people to do it. But people will hopefully come across this particular section. I'll do it again on the live show and say, look, just give me the name of the people that you like watching that you'd say, yeah, I could definitely enjoy. I would definitely enjoy, future tense, seeing this guy that I enjoy watching talk to Nathan about how flat Earth is. Give me that name. I'll, if you haven't already got it, grab their contact information. If, as a fan of their show, you know that they, on occasion, give out their contact information, take the 5 minutes that it would take you as a fan of that show to go to the bit in their show where they give out their contact information, grab it and give it me with their contact information, because it'll save me 5 hours work if you already know where their contact information is to be obtained. So there's plenty of people who've given me contact information alongside the name of their favourite YouTubers. You're like, oh man, that's a godsend, because that can be turned into a, would you like to have Nathan Oakley on your show? He's got a book to promote about how flat Earth gets measured. And that one-line email to the right person with the right contact information, where they're expecting to get people contacting them about people being on their show or something similar, is an absolute godsend. It means that can be rattled off and then they can move on to the next one. By the time I get to the 10th, more likely somebody else, a third party doing it on my behalf, gets to the 10th contact, there's a good chance that one of those 10 will go, yeah. Actually, I've got a slot Tuesday. Would you like to fill? Somebody else has cancelled. But hopefully that'll invigorate people. As for the people who are saying I'm a controlled opposition shill, like, you're the people that I was talking about on the Flat Earth side that I don't want to be around either. Like, you're just under the surface ready to condemn me. Like, I've put 12 years into getting to the stage where I can tell you that Earth is flat regardless of anybody's opinion on the matter. Show you examples of how flat it must be dealt with, and then you can turn around and tell me that I'm a controlled opposition still telling the world that they might as well be going to the devil. Like, no, that's why I don't want you around me either. You know, you are the old school flat earther that I just despise, because you're part of the problem. You're the reason that the unfuckable golems think they can come and demand answers of you, because you'll give them. Won't be the right answers, but you'll still give them. Like, they've got some bearing on how Earth gets measured, these unfuckable golems that have approached you and said you want them in your group. You want to associate. The amount of times I've been told by server operators that they desire these unfuckable golems come and associate with them and give them their company. They want the adenoidal dweebs to be their friends, don't they?
Yes. Oh, here, I got the other part to what he said, and this is going to make a lot of sense to you. How he says, if not controlled op, then he's doing it for free anyway, chasing just about anyone that listens to his slop away from flat Earth for good. Same with, circular as the arguments globers make, and we don't need to stoop to that level. Just don't listen to Nathan Oakley for your arguments. He's a good, what does it say? He's a control op. He clearly is dying and extremely unhealthy. This is what you get. People declaring that you're unhealthy and that don't go to you for your arguments. Now, I'll agree with that because we end the argument and it takes guts to do that.
Yeah, so
These people have no spine.
Again, by analogy, this is a guy who goes to the guy in a bar and says, the tolerances on Ford clutches are terrible, they wear out too quickly. And the guy says, I don't care, go away. I fit clutches for a living, I'm at the bar watching the footy, leave me alone. The guy insists, no, go away. Mechanic says again, leave us alone, we're trying to enjoy our social time, and you're encroaching on it. Now he's in the middle of the group, standing on the table, demanding that you give him answers about the clutches that Ford produce. And you go, get lost. What does this guy then do? What's his next move? He then stands outside the bar and says to the people passing by, don't go to T&H garages because they're useless and they're only interested in knackering your car. And you're like, what? So, because I've told you that I'm not going to explain Ford's tolerances on their clutches that I happen to fit when I'm being paid, you're going to tell people to keep away from my garage. That's how this works, is it? Yep, for these unfuckable golems, either you talk to me or I'll ruin your business. So what's that? You've decided that because we no longer want to engage with you, you're going to go out into the wider world and tell people that I'm a controlled opposition shill and to not support me. Yep, that's basically it, isn't it? Again, what would happen to the guy who's standing outside the garage shouting at the customers to go away? They'd get a broken nose, wouldn't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah. So, you know who it is? I think this is DJ from, I guess, 24/7. Nathan Oakley's stance is that he doesn't want to be labeled a conspiracy theorist with chemtrails. He doesn't know the truth, so he doesn't speak on it.
Oh, here we go.
He claims that's part of that's part of the game to label all flat earthers. It is.
It is. That's correct. They are. So this guy's literally making my point for me because I don't want to talk about conspiratard shit like chemtrails. Blah, 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 blah. Let's ruin Nathan's career. Oh, right. DJ, if that's you, I'd break your fucking nose. Because you want to talk about chemtrails, you think you've got the right to turn people away from my garage. Broken nose.
He talks about angles of elevation. The triangle baseline is fictional. Straight line of sight, that is plumb. You can do this on a giant and on a graph and on a topographical flat Earth.
Again, is this guy measuring angles? Is this guy charting or producing maps? Is this guy surveying the world? Is he navigating a boat? He's doing absolutely none of them. But in his mind, he's the arbiter of these things, isn't he? These people have built themselves up to be perceived as consequential to the subject. And what I'm doing is taking that away from them. That's why they currently despise me. The people on my own side. Because I'm turning around and they don't like it, but I'm going to do it right now. You don't matter. You don't have to like it. Now, you can take that one of two ways. You can say, you saying I don't matter means that I've got more time to spend on other things. Or you can take it as an affront to your superior fart-sniffing knowledge about fucking chemtrails. No, your chemtrails have got absolutely nothing to do with the subject of flat Earth. But you have inserted your conspiratard self into this subject. And because I'm pointing that out, you think that you can punish me for it. It's a disgrace.
Well, he always had issues with you anyway when we used to go in there. He was the one that always had an issue.
Look, Cloves.
Like I say, it takes guts
Hold on a
to
sec.
freaking sit there and
What
end
you
the
want?
argument. Sorry.
Who else is about? I've got something I need to deal with. Hello, all of you in Discord. One of you chat with Neil for a couple of minutes.
Don't worry about it. I'll keep the conversation going. Yeah, it takes a lot of guts, and it takes a person that's confident in what the nature of our reality is, because they just want to hold on to arguments, and they feel like, well, if it's ended, then what are we going to do? We got a show called 24/7 Flat Earth. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about for 24 hours? Oh, my goodness. Can't just end it. Can't be checkmate. I'd rather it be a stalemate. And this is what you get.
It's like arguing with atheists who refuse to even try to acknowledge what is true. And they sit around talking about your sky daddy and all that stuff.
They want to argue about what is true when you just look at nature in itself, right? Just look at the first and second law of thermodynamics, right?
Exactly.
You can pretty much come to the conclusion that this is a created place. And if it's a created place, there is a creator. So it makes no sense, whatever the heck atheist means. But I understand what you're saying, because you just wind up arguing with people that are not going to be moved one way or the other. They set their faith like flint against God. And the same thing here. These people set their face like flint against Earth being flat because they don't want to lose that story, that grand story of outer space and other planets. There's movies coming out left and right. There's another one coming out called Hail Mary. Something to do with space.
Getting tedious.
Yeah, and then when you get told off pretty much that go away, then we don't make the maps. Go take the issue up with the cartographers, and go on a ship. And when they are using celestial navigation, better hope they're not, because if they are, then that means your ship went down and you're in a life raft. You could rip the freaking sextant off the guy, and you could do it pertaining to a globe. Good luck with that.
Neil, did you say first or second law of thermodynamics?
I said both. Why? Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's to why people don't think about that. They're thinking about believing in God or not believing in God. You understand me? They don't think. They have more pressure against religion than God because they are not thinking about Creator in that moment. They are thinking about religion. I'm so sure every atheist it's pressured by some kind of because religion did something bad in or you didn't or somehow you didn't prove the God, show me, But that's two things people never thought about that. Atheist, I'm saying. They are thinking about religion. They are not thinking about first or second law of thermodynamics ever.
Right. Well, and
Yeah,
that's
well, you bring it to their attention, though. That's what I'm saying. And even when you bring it to their
Yeah,
attention, they don't want to have nothing to do with it. When it's obvious, if somebody looks into it, right, and just says, okay, let's see what you're talking about with this entropic effect, they're going to come to the conclusion that it's created. It didn't just poof into existence. So you're saying that they're going to, what their problem is religion, not so much a creator.
yeah. For the being atheist, I know a lot of people. They are good people even, but they don't believe in God. Because
Well, what
I'm
do you?
sure that 90% of them because of religion. This church, this church did that. Look what they did, and that's why they don't want to believe in God. God is evil. Look what he
right.
didn't stop the Second World War, stuff like that.
You're not gonna get to God by way of being argued with evidence of the Methodist religion being correct, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to get to flat Earth by arguing about evidence. How far the sun is, or what the sun is, or what ether is, and stuff like that. You can only get to truth by truth, and you have to just see it to know that it's true, or you deny it because you're afraid to accept that it's true.
Well, when you take a measurement, what do you say? I've used this terminology quite a few times on a job site, and you tell them the measurements are true.
Oh, that's kind of coincidental, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird, but I've used that terminology quite a few times. The measurements are true.
Oh,
Like,
true north. There's true north. There's the true horizon. There's the apparent horizon. They'll tell you the truth in all that they're doing, but then mix in just a little bit of a lie to make the whole thing untrue. I'm still arguing with the guy on Facebook about reciprocal zenith angles. And I don't know what they're doing. And, you don't know what they're doing. You're going against all the professionals. It shows here right in this textbook that because the earth is curved, and I read there's a definition the guy posted, and you have to read it carefully. And it says a level, because he's talking about leveling with surveying, because this is his only lifeline, was that they're talking about leveling, and because the earth is curved, they have to there's no parallel perpendicular or parallel verticals. There's no parallel plumb lines. It's like, dude, then the whole world would be cockeyed.
yo, I heard that recently too. That Earth is the globe. That's why you have to level it.
Yeah.
If it was flat, then you would have to level it. Oh shoot, I did hear that the other day.
Did you see what I posted in Master B? That someone gave me the this is how we level on the globe, and it showed the Earth, the planet, with levels, little tangent planes all over it. I wrote back to the guy, and it's like, oh, that is awesome. Hundreds of trillions of little tiny micro levels all over the Earth. It's just so ridiculous. You can't argue against it or for it. You just go nuts trying to argue about it.
But and that's not even true. Their level is the equatorial plane. That's what their level is. It
Oh.
has to be.
These guys, no, well, that all they'll do to give that
I never
credit
understood what their level is.
Yeah, it's to gravity. Its level is perpendicular to the gravitational force to the center of the Earth. That's as close as they'll get to saying the equatorial plane. You have to, this is what frustrates me, is I have to point out that their level is not a tangent plane on the top of a ball. It's actually the equatorial plane in the center of your presupposed ball. And that's because you only measure the sun at the equinox when it's at the center of the of your ball. But that's
then they're just denying reality. Then their reality.
Right. And that's too high level to explain to them. So I'm just laughing at their pictures and pointing out how silly they are. It's about the best.
Why is water? The only reason why water is flat is because of gravity.
Yeah, right. Okay, so what about eye level? Is eye level being pushed down by gravity? What about the horizon? Even the smallest or the most obvious anomalies don't work.
Right, sorry to interrupt. The guy you were talking about, is he a map maker?
No, he has science in his screen name.
Oh, so he's a scientist?
No, he's a Facebook faux science.
I'm just trying to figure out what consequence he has on the subject. Like, is he about to come up with a new time system or something?
None at all. And that's what I keep trying to point out. But he just keeps coming back and saying that I'm dodging his questions.
Yeah, because they want you, the flat earther, to give them answers that they want and argue with them.
Yeah.
Because they're doing society a favor.
If they can put you up on a pedestal, like you're the one who designed the clutch, then they can argue with you about how the clutch is wrong. And when they are winning, the clutch is bad, that makes everything right, because you've been shown to be wrong about how the clutch should work, the one that you fit when you're at your garage, fitting clutches. Because this guy's come up to you in a bar while you're having a pint with your mates and started demanding that you answer how the tolerances are in a Ford clutch. Is he working for Ford? Oh, no, he doesn't work in a factory to do with anything to do with cars. In fact, he's unemployed. He doesn't have any bearing on anything ever. He's spending most of his time online, wanking.
Yeah, like the Alpha Murphy guy.
Yeah. Right, you're not out at the Ford factory producing clutches, you're not producing maps, you haven't designed a scale, you're not designing how flights work and measure off altitude, levels from sea level, you're not doing any of those things. You haven't no bearing on any of this stuff. But you want to put me on a pedestal so you can make me wrong, so you can feel better about what? Oh, you've got a religion about how level works on a globe? So you've got an excuse for how level it must be. It must be level. You making level work on a globe, you do that elsewhere. Go and find other boring adenoidal twats to tell how level must work on a globe because it's a globe. Meanwhile, why would you need level to do anything if everything's globe-shaped? You just work with the globe-shaped item that you're working with, not explain how flat works with the globe-shaped item you aren't working with. You're working with flat measurements. Why do you need tangency? Oh, because you need a level surface to be measurable. But it's not like anybody here in this discussion needs anything. It just is measured in that way. You aren't measuring it, though, are you? What's that? DJ says that I don't talk about chemtrails. Yeah, get lost. All of you conspiratards. Everybody who's here because you liked what I did when I was talking to people about 9/11, chemtrails, Sandy Hook, psychopathy, subliminal messaging. Everyone here, piss off. For everyone else who's like the silent majority that goes, actually, I really do appreciate how simplistic you've made this measurement argument, which isn't an argument. It's a statement of absolute fact that I can believe in wholeheartedly because it doesn't require any belief. Yeah, when you're at that stage, circling these circles, come to me as a Patreon. Support me financially. Mean that I can stay here talking to the world about how flat it just measures, regardless of if we do anything. That is to say, it's not that it's not your job or your responsibility to measure Earth flat, because it isn't. But that means on the other end of that fence, on the other end of that sliding scale, it doesn't matter to you either. This is why I'm getting called a controlled opposition shill, because I'm relinquishing of you of your pretend concern that you thought you needed to have about this subject. Don't worry about it. It's flat regardless of if you have the discussion or not, which means that when it's no longer incumbent on you, your due diligence to convert next man to how flat it is, when he's not making a clutch either, yeah, you'll realise that, well, isn't that just a whole big waste of time? Now that I'm at this stage right now, right here, with Nathan Oakley telling me you don't need to worry about it, it's just measured flat, and that will be the case regardless of if you have an argument with it, next man believes you or not. None of those things are consequential to how the surface of Earth got measured, past tense, is measured today, present tense, and will always be measured, future tense. You have no involvement. So why worry about it? You don't need to be concerned about it. Now you can start reflecting if people insert themselves in your life because they do worry about it. Again, unnecessarily, they've got no bearing on it either. But when they do, you can go, okay, so you've got no bearing on it, but you want me to be put up on some pedestal so you can make me wrong and therefore feel better about your belief you had no consequence in. No, go away. I don't want to, you're an irritating prick to begin with. I wouldn't want you involved in my life if we weren't having this discussion. If you were a customer, I'd probably look my nose down, but I'd take your money off you. But you're not giving me any money. You're just taking up my time. Now me, the time is more precious than any gold. And that's what they want the most of, isn't it? Mostly, they just want your time. They're not developing a new clutch as a result of your time being chewed up. Now, if you want to see that as me being the bad guy because I'm saying it doesn't matter, Earth will be flat without a defence council. Yeah? If you want to see that as bad, okay, go away and waste your time with other people who do want to tell you that it's absolutely thoroughly consequential that you debate about how Earth's measured regardless of your involvement. Do that. Just not with me. Certainly don't do it if you're going to involve chemtrails. You know, I'm going to be running away from you in the not too distant future. Not politely saying I don't want to be associated with you. I'll be sprinting. Go and get this guy away from me because you're part of the problem. Yeah?
What if a school teacher is listening and is really perturbed by this and wants to make a change in the way they're teaching their class?
Then don't teach. You're being paid. Your job is to teach what the people who pay you tell you to. Now, if you don't like that system, remove yourself from it. That's what I did. I don't want my kids being taught absolute nonsense and being jabbed. That's it. So I took them out of that system and they've never been involved in it. To my financial detriment. It's extremely difficult and expensive to do that. Neil will attest to that, won't you, Neil?
Yes, but hold on. The school teacher, she wants to go to the Board of Education and bring this to their attention.
So do it.
She can't do it. He or she is bound by the contract that they've made, and they're supposed to teach. Nathan's right. They're supposed to teach the curriculum.
There's a word for it. It's called. It's called insubordination, or being insubordinate.
Hold on a second. If they're teaching 2 + 2 is a different number, then you would be right on their ass, right?
No, if you're contracted to teach people that 2 + 2 is 5, then that is what you teach them, or you just get a different job.
Bingo.
Wow. They got it pretty much locked down then.
When you apply for the job and they tell you in the job interview that you'll be expected to teach people that 2 + 2 is 5, you can either take the job because you're going, yeah, that's fine, and I want the pay, or you don't. Now, once you're in the job, you can't say, well, now I'm going to be as insubordinate as I see fit. Then you're no better than the fart sniffers that I've argued about us not wanting to involve ourselves with. You're like, whoa. Not only, it's worse in a way, That level of insubordination's worse because they're receiving pay. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. If you don't like what you're being fed, don't eat it. It is that simple. No, you're going to demand that hand changes what it feeds you.
Well, the teacher
what?
has hold on. The teacher has a concern for the many, many thousands of children that are going to be taught something that is not correct.
So there's processes to go through. Anthony Riley went through the local council and then eventually up to prime ministerial level so that he could appeal to the standard of education in its incorrect nature. That's how the, bureaucracy and red tape is laid out for you to negotiate. Now, as a teacher, it is not incumbent on you to do anything other than teach the syllabus that you've been presented with. That's what you're employed and contracted to do. Now, again, there's going to be people who are hearing this going, I can't believe it, you're not encouraging the teachers in subordination. No, I'm not. But I've done the other thing. So I feel justified in saying that opinion because I have done the other thing. Now, I'm not a teacher, but I've had to teach my kids. Now, would I prefer that there was a teaching methodology available for free? Nothing's free, yeah? There's no such thing as a free lunch. But the people who are putting their kids in basic daycare at the government's control and behest with their syllabus want to moan about how that hand's feeding them food they don't like, then they're idiots. That's just my opinion. Now, there's going to be people who are in there that are like, well, I had no choice. I had to get involved with the rat race. And you're like, no, you didn't. Now, me, I can e-beg my way to slightly less poverty, and that's as good as I can expect it. But while I moan and can moan to hopefully encourage people who are out there in the position that I'm now mocking, earning their crust so they are in a position to support me, that is self-detrimental. But I've got principles. If you're a teacher and you don't like what you teach, then there are, I am sure, methods that are available to you in your school handbook or whatever it is that's dispensed to you, as a method for you to, I don't know, express any concerns that you might have with the teaching method. There might not be. They might literally say, don't express concerns about the syllabus, just teach it. I don't know, I'm not a teacher. But how you go about moaning and basically biting the hand that feeds you, that's, for you to do and for me to frown upon, basically. And I think Surf Daddy's on my side in this regard.
Yeah, but that's not to say that you can't be creative with how you teach within the curriculum. So
that sounds like insubordination to me. What do you mean?
No, that's not. That's different. That's not insubordination. That's going to result in disciplinary action if you get caught. Now, bending the rules is exactly that. There's rules and parameters that teachers have to work within. You either accept those or you don't if you're under contract to teach. Now, if you say, I don't like the way that this methodology is taught, I am almost certain that there'll be a procedure available to the teachers that will lead nowhere, where they can moan about it, right? But realistically, wanting to not have that be done, you either break the rules outside of your contract or you behave in an insubordinate way. Or you go along a different route like Anthony Riley did that is adjacent to but not involved in your employment. But while you're doing that, you've still got to teach the bullshit. And at that point, you're a liar. That is to say, you're telling something that isn't true, that you know isn't true, right? So at which point, this is where, with a smile, I can describe in a happy way why I have utter disdain for this particular type of teacher, like conspiracy cats, who basically went nuts and had to walk away from his channel, handing it off to somebody else outside of YouTube's rules and regulations about channel use. Nevertheless, upon going nuts, finding out that he had to measure Earth flat, quote, I'll give you a flat Earth for that. What, that argument you're making, conspiracy cats? A teacher who is not only lying to his kids, lying to himself in this particular instance about how Earth isn't flat, but I'll give you a flat Earth for this argument I need to make. Like, at that point, you know you are lying. Now you can go, oh yeah, but I'm trying to go through the means of getting it to change. Yeah, but you're still teaching it. What's a lie? Something that is incorrect that you know is not incorrect being passed on to next man. Well, that's what you're doing. If you know it's not true, and you tell the kiddies anyway, then I despise you. Yeah, walk away from your job. Now, what am I going to moan about? Yeah, I am poor. That's the facts. I've made that choice and gone, I'd rather be poor. You're going, I'd rather keep the money and lie to get it. That's why I despise teachers who are in this subject, because they know they're not stupid. They might be cognitively dissonant, but they're in a system that advises them as the authority. Therefore, they should be better mentally, cognitively, and recognise cognitive dissonance when they hear it, especially when they're in a subject like we are in. Maybe it's past tense, but in this particular scenario, I'll describe it present tense because it's easier. In this subject, they're being told how cognitively dissonant they are. And when they come up with an excuse for using flat earth measurements, like, I'll give the flat earth measurement I need to you, my opponent, because I'm so very generous, you're like, no, you're just a scumbag. A deceitful scumbag liar. And I'll call you that regardless of which side of the fence you think you're on. There is no fence. There's no defence counsel needed for how Earth's measured. And if you've got to tell people it's measured some way that it isn't, you are a liar. Now, you might not like that. You might think, but I'm a flat earther, Nathan. I couldn't give a crap. If you know it's not true and you teach it to kids, you disgust me. It is that simple.
How are you?
Good morning, an hour late or early. Or what time is it?
It's an hour later for the people in the States because your clocks have gone forward and ours haven't yet. So we are at the normal UK time of 2 p.m. on Flat Earth Debate. However, if you're joining us from the States, it's an hour later than it was normal. Is it normally 9 o'clock in New York for Flat Earth Debate? It's 10 o'clock. I would assume.
Why, is the planet spinning faster or slower or something?
Planet? I mean, the idea of having a planet will be derived from flat Earth measurements that give us the concepts of time, and the angle measurements that we've created patterns get wrapped around us in something called the celestial sphere, so that we can project the flat plane we acquired the angles from at an equatorial minimum derived from those angles, in the case of Polaris and the equator, so that we can then project the flat Earth angle measurements and coordinate systems that are essentially a protractor wrapped around the flat plane you measured them from into being the surface of the ground that you stood on flat to measure it. So upon conversion, and in conversion, having two balls, one that's the celestial sphere measured from the angles off the flat plane you took them from, and the converted 3959 radius ball Earth, you can then put that ball Earth into motion and start suggesting that it has a consequence on the very time that's been fiddled with by the elites in the case of British summertime and daylight savings, and call it as a result of the motion that's been mathematically created from the church. You can do that, but in reality, it's just one of your governments that's decided to change the time by an hour when another government in a different area has decided that they're not going to, until a later date.
Well, you think you're so smart. Actually, you're not so smart.
Actually, it's just the ball moving around the sun at a different rate.
Well, that's what's so crazy. Is that I think I've read two little headlines in news memes, that said the Earth is slowly getting slower or going faster. If we use the spin of the Earth for telling time, good grief, even if it's slowing down a little bit, our time would all be screwed up.
Okay, so time is a concept that's been derived from the movements of the lights in the sky, the sun. So we average them and then come up with a system. Now, there's been multiple different systems for time and calendars and clocks, but the one we currently use as a convention, perfectly satisfactory, but isn't governed by an idea that works outside of the convention derived from those very movements. So when you take altitude and azimuth as described on screen and get a pattern of where the sun will be and average it and then put it onto the face of a clock, that's the convention that we use after we've derived it from the measurements from a flat plane. Obviously, that goes without saying. But once you then work outside of that convention and start suggesting that time slows down, you're like, well, what you're essentially saying when you work out the convention is that what has derived the convention, that's the movement of the sun when you measure it, is moving faster or moving slower. So you're saying that you're going to speed the sun up? You're not God. You're just working outside of a convention. That's it. There's no slowing down Earth rotation, right? Earth rotation is, again, a convention that's been derived from flat Earth prerequisites and measurements that have been put into a mathematical system to better describe the initial movements measured from a flat plane. Now, the Keplerian orbital motion, specifically, is incapable of reification because it violates its base principle angle measurements from flat surfaces. Now, why do I know this? I've got to be honest. I was just about to get up and wander off, hoping this discussion would be capable of being portable. This is boring, right? I find this entire subject, now that we're at the end game as flat earther, entering into the subject as a conspiratard that like talking about psychopathy and subliminal messaging, I'm now on the other end talking about fucking boring-ass Keplerian motion. Sorry, this is snoozeworthy, and all the people who are interested in this shit are boring. I've got to be honest. It's just boring. And I've become a subject matter expert as the road obviously meanders its way through the subject of flat Earth, from conspiracy to boring-ass Keplerian motion. Well, it's still boring. I didn't realise I'd become a subject matter in something that I had a mild fascination in. I used to own a telescope and look at the lights in the sky before flat Earth. Now I've become a boring-ass fart-sniffing expert on Keplerian motion after 12 years. Well, I mean, I'll monetise that. I encourage you all to become a Patreon. Yeah, Eric Debay did a little shout-out and appeal in this regard about a year ago, and I became one of his Patreons as a direct consequence of that. And I encourage you, if you like what I'm putting down, that's to say, you can save yourself a lot of time if you've come across Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, or Nathan Oakley channel, or me as an individual. What's that? Earth's just measured flat and it doesn't need a defence council, which means that you don't have to defend this. You don't have to do anything for Earth to be measured flat, because it always was. And it will be today when anybody does anything with an elevation angle from Earth's flat surface, so they can navigate, chart, use a map, use a flat scale, describe a mile, describe a kilometre. All of those things were flat anyway. So you didn't need to argue with your neighbour over the fence on his lawnmower about how he says that Earth's moving around the sun and that the time's slowing down or speeding up. You didn't need to. Now, there's going to be people out there that say, what's Nathan walking away from the subject? No, I've just accurately disseminated how boring Keplerian motion is now. Flat Earth must be measured to develop that system. So I'm far from me walking away. I've just become a subject matter expert in something that's quite boring. I didn't intend to become that boring, fart-sniffing guy talking about Keplerian motion, but Earth's measured flat to achieve that. So you can go about your day without wasting any of your precious time. And your time's here limited. It's more valuable than any gold or pound notes or dollars. So don't waste your time arguing with next man about how flat it isn't. Let him go on his way, because the actual measurements of Earth's surface do not need any defence council.
No, but that's because you did not look into my measured flat destructive dichotomy, Nathan. You're running from it.
So as somebody who's running away from something else, that is to say that I don't want to be involved in it, right? Let's say this person, whoever it may be, has joined us in the bar of life in reality. So we're out, we're not on the internet. And this person inserts himself into the discussion and asks me if I'm running away. What does that mean? It means, do I fear this person? Okay. So there's an element where this person's suggesting I should be in fear of what they've got to put down. Now, I'll put this into a rage-filled example to try and get my point across. Now I'm going to do it as calmly as possible. Imagine that scenario. You're in that scenario. You're at the bar. You're watching the football. Somebody comes in and says, "What, are you scared of this?" And you say, "I don't want to be around you. You seem like a deeply unpleasant person. Please go away." And they go, "No, you're running away from me being threatening." Now, this is the point that any normal person in society, being told that they should feel threatened by this golem, will break their nose and stamp on their head if it's in their capabilities to do so, to alleviate themselves of this perceived threat. Now, does this perceived threat, or this, by reaction, person getting their head stamped on, alter how flat Earth got measured? No, I mean, both parties might end up in jail. Who knows? But Earth will still be in requirement of a flat surface level and parallel eye level and elevation angles off a flat surface. That's elevation, meaning from the ground, not imaginary, used to navigate. Charted with a sea level that's also measured flat for it to be level on average in a horizontal that's perpendicular and tied axiomatically to a flat earth surface level that we've described already 4 times. None of those things will change, but these golems have decided that they, who have absolutely nothing to do with anything that is already preordained when it comes to Earth surface level measurements, they don't have any bearing on them. But they're in front of you in the bar demanding that you're, what, should be in fear, should be running away? No, I have no bearing on this. I'm not responsible for how flat Earth is and has always been measured, and will continue to be measured regardless of whether or not this golem has decided that I owe him answers. Now, you might want to live in fear of the awful reality you've got no control over, but putting me up on a pedestal so that I can be held responsible for how flat Earth was, is, and always will be measured is your desire to have me be in a position that you desire to be in. And even if you get me there on that pedestal you've put me on, knocking me off won't mean that you get to sit on that pedestal and actually have any bearing on how Earth's measured. You don't. You never will. So what are we left with? We're left with a social scenario. That's what flat Earth's been turned into. A group. A social subject. How flat earthers believe Earth's not a sphere and are wrong. Well, it's a social subject. So what are we left with? We're left with some golem who doesn't fit in society, won't be enjoyed as company in reality. At the bar, nobody wants to hear your adenoidal rantings about logical syllogisms. They're just trying to watch the football or hockey or whatever it is they're doing in the sports bar. But you're stood on the table saying, "What are you doing? You're not going to run away from my question." Really? Well, you might get a group of people turn on you. You just don't realise it. At the moment, it's been deemed acceptable societally, but it doesn't take long for someone's rhetoric, mine, to permeate society when they've been told that they need to jump off tall buildings to prove gravity. Those people might feel inclined to agree with me when I say this isn't acceptable. You behaving this way, you deciding that I should feel threatened when you say words like, "You're not going to run away." Well, let's put that in a police context. So this person was telling you that you should be in fear of them and threatened by them and that you're running away from them. What, fight or flight? So flight's not working. No, okay, take it as read. Yeah, we don't want to be in your company. You can take that as I'm running away from you. So remove yourself from me. You're still here. So then there's only one other choice. Fight. So you're going to get a broken nose and your head stamped on. And what's the police going to say if it was that setting? Oh, well, we told him to go away. He said that I was running away. So now I've stamped on his throat. Sorry, officer. I tried to run away. He pointed out that I didn't want to be around him and called it running away, and he chased after me. And that's what they're doing. They're chasing us. I've tried to put it into an analogy where we're the cool kids and they're the girls, and the young fuckable golems are getting stared at with disdain by every woman who ever lays eyes on them. Yeah? But that analogy doesn't fit quite so well. The analogy of how society just simply doesn't want to talk to these people, and they are being told so, and their response is to say, "What are you doing, running away? What, we don't want to be around you." That's correct, we don't want to be around you. That's right. Now, you've decided to turn that into a threatening behaviour where, no, you don't get to run away from me. I'll create 60 more accounts so that you're stuck with me whether you like it or not. In society, you would have the ever-living piss beaten out of you. That's why you're here, because you've only got to press a little shortcut and you've made a new adenoidal account to annoy the people who've told you they don't want to be around you. Why don't they want to be around you? Because you're genuinely unpleasant people to be around. That's why you came here, right? Society didn't want to be around you, so you found yourself online in a comment section demanding a flat earther explains how a map he didn't create worked. Oh, very interesting, you adenoidal little pricks. But in reality, you know what you are and what you'd be treated as if you were to do this in reality. It wouldn't last very long, and you damn well know it. So I'm going to start pointing out sociology as opposed to flat earth. If you want to bring me into the flat earth subject when it's about how social groups behave, then I'll just bring it back down to brass tacks. You talking about this orbital motion and how you just don't understand how we've got reciprocal zenith angles. You are deeply unliked in society. People hate you, in fact. Yeah? They don't want to be around you. They don't want to talk to you. You're generally bringing their day down. The girls don't want to sleep with you. It's just reality. You're not pleasant people. Now, you thought that your disdain at how a flat earther says you're wrong can be met with you telling him to jump off a tall building to prove gravity. And what are you doing? Running away from reciprocal zenith angles? What, not wanting to be around you? Yeah, let's bring it back home. Running away? That's just, we don't want to be around you. Now, me, in terms of the subject matter, I don't have to dignify you with a response, because an Earth that's flat and measured exactly that way doesn't need me to defend it. So if I convince this person, highly unlikely, that he's wrong about how flat Earth must be measured for his belief, will it change how flat Earth got measured to create the ball? No, it doesn't matter if he gets convinced. For every flat Earth convert, somebody who's come to the fact, the reality that Earth's flat, name one that made a difference. Name one. You won't. Now, if you want to say, oh, well, that's Nathan being a shill. No, it's me saving you a lot of time with a very simplistic explanation of how flat Earth must be measured and always was anyway. Once you realise that, and then also realise, more importantly, that you didn't have any bearing on it, being on your ball, or realising that the world isn't a ball and that ball was made with measurements that are flat, didn't change anything. It didn't matter which side the fence you sat. But you've been told that if we don't believe we're on a ball, the world will end. Jobs are at risk. Well, suddenly you're quite important in that equation, aren't you? Oh, I'm affecting how the world's got... No, you haven't, you adenoid little prick. You're inconsequential to it. Now, don't get me wrong, this is being detrimental on both sides. There's flat earthers that really don't like me telling them. They don't really matter. The world's going to be flat whether they defend it or not. How many did you convert today to flat Earth? Oh, really? How much more flat can you measure an elevation angle if you've got 400 people converted? Did any of them actually measure it? They didn't. So you just wasted a good chunk of your time then? Because they weren't measuring a damn thing? And even if they did gather up, I don't know, 1,000 people to measure elevation angles of the sun, they could still turn around and say, these flat Earth measurements mean we're on a ball. Yeah, them. They're still flat Earth measurements, and they will be regardless of whether or not you say, because this isn't an English language subject, it's a geography subject. They say that the ball's actually been measured, that's why we've got tangential planes. Now, do they say that? All right, and how much of a bearing does the English language have on how flat we measure it? None. But by escalating the linguistic convergence of people's discussion on the subject to having a consequence to what Earth is, it's almost like you can make a consensus change reality. Now, that perception is what's used against us, and the conspiratards will bang on about it all day long. But knowing that you're being manipulated, knowing that you're kept under control, you are, won't change how flat Earth gets measured. So join me on Patreon if you like what I'm doing. If you're liking what I'm putting down and you're like, yeah, man, I can get right behind this. Earth's flat anyway. And even if I don't have the answers to some adenoidal twat who's inserted himself into my life for no reason when I haven't asked him to, even if I don't have the answers, it won't matter because he's inconsequential too. Him knowing that it's flat, like you now know it's measured flat, doesn't make any change to the Earth's surface. It doesn't make any change. But you want to be the arbiter of the consensus view? Why? Be an individual and enjoy your life. You've got a very limited time here. Thank me later. Join me on Patreon.
I equals 2.
Yeah, again, what's that? Pi equals 2. The clutch doesn't work. Ford aren't very good at tolerances. I just fit clutches for a living. I don't actually make them. Go and talk to Ford. Pi equals... Get lost. Nobody wants to talk to you. We're watching the game.
Neil and I were talking before the show started, and I was realizing that the adenoidal dweebs are also the flat earthers that are going to pilots and asking them if the earth is flat or not.
Yep.
And they're the ones that are annoying. And
That's correct.
that's why the anti-flat earthers can look at them and go, of course the pilots are going to mess with you and tell you that it's flat just to get you away from them, just to get you to go away and leave them alone while they're at the bar looking at the stewardesses.
Well, again, they've elevated an opinion of a pilot. It's like, no. The pilot's opinion or capabilities of verbalizing his understanding or belief on what Earth is utilized as with horizontal planes of reference, altitudes from sea level. Those things aren't governed by the pilot. Again, what they're doing is an appeal to authority fallacy, because in this instance, it's like Mama said that the crocodile's got all those teeth because it's angry or whatever. It's like Mama doesn't govern what the medulla oblongata functionally does. She's not an expert, and the pilot's not an expert in flat Earth measurements. He's an expert in following the plans that have been put to him in training to keep the aircraft in level flight. But he doesn't govern what level flight is. And having an opinion, level flight curves. Like, sorry, does that make sea level not parallel with flight level? No. But you can say it because now you've elevated this pilot into the same pedestal that you put me on. He's not the arbiter of what Earth gets measured as. Him utilising the measurements of a flat Earth to remain in straight and level flight is him using the principle of Earth measurement. Like me putting an elevation angle description on screen, it doesn't mean that I'm the arbiter of elevation angles, and it doesn't mean the pilot governs how straight and level flight functions. He doesn't. But it's transposing a geographical or mathematical utilisation of surface level into the English language by making it the responsibility of how a pilot verbalises it. Oh, do you think it's flat because it's flat? Oh, well, actually, no. Surface level curves, little man. You enjoy the flight. It's not our responsibility. We do not govern these things. And we've elevated ourselves to a point of importance where somebody else comes along and says, no, how dare you elevate yourself to the importance of being able to discuss and disseminate how flat Earth is. I say it isn't. You're like, say? Yeah, we used to thought that was important. Often there's people out there that think it's their due diligence to make sure you know how flat it is. But it didn't matter if, let's say, the person find any debate over the last 10 years and find the individual that's on the bull side and say, okay, let's say at the end of this discussion, this bull believer got converted. So he goes, hallelujah, the earth's flat, I understand it. Now show me 5 years, 10 years, 20 years into the future, how that person made any difference. Did they suddenly make a new map? Did they make a new time system? Did they develop a new system of elevation angle measurements? Did sea level get altered? Did flight level not be parallel? Did they do anything of any consequence? No. All of those things were all still functionally in effect while that person was finding out how flat it was. And now that they know it's flat, no jobs are going to be lost. Nothing's going to be altered. So it doesn't matter if the person that you're arguing with gets converted to the ball side. Again, another reason why I've been called a shill. And I've, in the pre-show at least, I'm probably not bold enough to do it because I'm poor in the live show, but gone bugger off then, you bunch of conspiratards. You're part of the problem. I instead will say, no, if you like what I'm putting down, this isn't a complicated argument anymore. And that's often the case with things that are true. They seem, because they've been made so, complicated, so that somebody can often take advantage of that simplicity and monetize it. Yeah? Well, we're making it simple again. It's just measured flat, regardless of your understanding of it. Therefore, I don't care if you believe me. Oh, disbelieve me then. Does it change the surface level? Does it change sea level? Does it change flight level? Does it change eye level? Does it change horizontal? Does it change perpendicularity? No. So keep your ball if you want it. I understand how flat Earth got measured to produce it, having spent 10 years studying it off the back of subliminal messages and psychopathy. I thought it'd be a lot more fun. Now we're into Keplerian motion, and Huygens deriving a radial value and superimposing onto the... Oh my God, it's so boring. There's more fun to be had out of flat Earth by standing on the outside of it and looking in. Now that's going to cost me the people who are in that circle and go, how dare you look down your nose on me? Don't you know how chemtrails work? And I'm going to start laughing. Going, yeah, you're just part of the problem. Seriously, you are. Now, that will initially, now, cost me subscribers. Well, so what? I'll appeal to people who do like the simplicity of what we are putting down on Flat Earth Debate on a daily basis now. That's the Earth's measured flat, regardless of anybody's opinion on it and how they verbalise it. If you like that simplicity, join me on Patreon. Eric Debay's put out the same rhetoric about a year ago. I joined him on Patreon. Like, you're poor. You need more patronage. You've shown the cut of your jib, Eric. Yeah, I'll join you on Patreon at the absolute bare minimum number that I can put ascribable to your Patreon. And I got a free book out of it. I'm delighted. Really enjoyed it. Check out Eric Debay's book, Become a Patron, if he still offers that as a Brucey bonus for being one of his patrons. But more importantly, I'm really poor because people are deserting me currently because they don't like being called fart sniffers when they're told how inconsequential to Earth measurement they are. And they are. But that sacrifice is worth it because there will be people who come and go, well, what's this all about? Flat Earth. Let's have a listen to this guy. Well, that's just measured flat. If you want to believe you're on a ball, you'll measure it flat. If you're utilising any Earth measurements, it's flat. You don't matter if you find out tomorrow that it's flat or now as you're listening to me that it's flat. You'll still have to pay your mortgage. You're not going to change the world because you're not having any influence over this fact that's already flat anyway, regardless of you now finding it out. It was already being dealt with that way. No jobs will be lost. Nothing will change. You finding it out just means you found it out. But because you now know that you're not consequential, unless you're planning on being a surveyor or learning how to fly a plane or creating a new map or developing a new time system, then you don't really need to worry about it. That's good. Because when next man comes along and starts telling you how consequential he is by mirroring you and putting you on a pedestal when you explain that you know how a flat Earth is measured, you'll go, well, this guy's not consequential. I don't need to waste my time explaining to you how flat it is. You don't matter. And you'll be able to parrot that rhetoric to somebody who's trying to waste your time because they think they're important too. They think they're going to make a difference because if they don't stop the onslaught of flat Earth, everyone's going to lose their jobs. And he, this Gamma Dick, is the saviour of all, is the secret king preventing the world losing jobs. No, you're not. No, you're just annoying everybody around you. Nobody likes talking about Kepler. It's boring. And that's going to be the rhetoric that they hear from now on. Nah, you were worried about us taking this subject away from you, were you? Something that you felt like you could sniff your own farts and lord it over the people in your bar that you were imagining being around. Because you're not. You're not around any of those people. Nobody likes you. Yeah? Why? Well, because you go around telling people that they're not worthy of the air that they're breathing or that their kids should be taken away or that they need to jump off tall buildings. You know who you are. You're fundamentally unlikable.
But Nathan, what are you supposed to do when they're constantly clamoring for your attention, where they send you message after message over the weekend, throughout the show, day in and day out, and you just say, can you please leave me alone? And they just won't.
I'll just rephrase that. Picture Chad. Chad's a handsome lad. And Chad says to you, what do you do, Neil, when these women, they just won't leave you alone? They're clamouring all over you. They can't get enough of you. They're always trying to get your attention and your time. And often these girls, they're not even that attractive. They want your attention, do they, Neil? Yeah, you're damn right they do.
Well, no, not for me. They want my attention because they can't get to you, Nathan. See, you're the target, right? So you must have this argument with a certain party. And if you don't have the argument, you're running and you won't sit down and reason something logical because it blows your claims that Earth is measured flat out of the water. So they think they could come through me.
I see. So Sweaty Betty's got a little list of why she'd be a really good wife, and really I should listen to how Sweaty Betty is the best possible woman in my life. And I just won't listen, therefore I'm running away from Sweaty Betty. I'm scared to hear how she's brilliant. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, but they're ignoring the fact that, when we're talking about Earth, how they're using flat measurements, and sort of like what Alpha Murphy was trying to do. He wants to get around the flat measurements and focus on some anomaly that he's facing.
Yeah, well, he said
map.
his words were, let's just take it as read that we're measuring Earth flat with these measurements I'm using in my argument, end quote, Alpha Murphy. But how do you explain how this map's working? Now, me, after he'd ignored you pointing out that he's using flat Earth measurements and him just thinking he can brush past it by saying, let's just take it as read, that we're measuring Earth flat, I step in and go, we don't want to talk to you anymore, go away. Go and find other like-minded idiots like you to tell that the flat Earth measurements you're using to make your argument can be disputed about how flat they aren't. Okay, just don't do that around us. We don't want to be around you. His response was, but you're my favourites. What kind of business plan is this where you're trying to get rid of people that we don't like, that we find annoying and boring? Like, literally, what are you talking about? You're talking about how the sun rises in a country you're not in. You're just boring. Now, you don't get it. You think I owe you my time. Well, I'm telling you, I don't want to be around you. You're fundamentally unlikable, deeply unpleasant, and just below the surface, you want to accuse us of being homosexuals. That's what he did. So you know you're not a pleasant person. You know you're lying when you tell us that you want to be our friends, when you spend endless amounts of your own time that you are wasting trying to get answers about things that I'm not the arbiter of, like GPS and maps and how the sun comes up in a different country. This idiot thinks that I'm somehow going to change the world when he argues with this shit about me. Now, in spite of the fact that, what do? I tell people Earth's flat, because it is. Well, let's just take it as read that it's measured flat. How do you explain? We've told you twice, go away. We don't want to be around you, we don't like you, and you're still here. What are you doing, running away? At this point, and I discussed this in the pre-show, that is where, if this scenario wasn't taking place online, it was in public. That is to say, somebody's come up to you, started harassing you about something that you don't have any control over. I don't have any control over how flat Earth gets measured when you watch the sun rise. Oh, well, yes, let's take it as read that the sun's rising with a flat Earth measurement. But how do you explain this on the map? What, the map I haven't created, I have no governance over, I have no responsibility for. How do I explain it? I don't. Go away. You've just accepted that Earth's flat, though, and that's the only thing I talk about in this regard. Yeah, we'll take it as read that it's flat. But how do you explain this? Are you running away from it? No, I accept that it's flat. I don't want to talk to you. I don't like you. You're an unpleasant person to be around. What are you doing running away? It's like, at this point, you'd have your head kicked in. That's what would happen. Because you become threatening. You're not listening. You're not taking it as read. The warning signs have come and gone. We've said go away. We've said we don't want to be around you. We've said that you're unpleasant, that we don't want to spend time in your company. But you're insisting. What does this manifest as online? Oh, well, I'll make 60 accounts. Okay. Yeah, you have to. In reality, the consequences would be pain. Here, no, I can inflict the pain by stating, me, I'm the pain. Yeah, in the arse. That's what you are, a pain in the arse. People don't like a pain in the arse, though, do they? And you are that pain in the arse, troll. Why? Because you need me to be on a pedestal, being the arbiter of our maps work, so that you can tell me I'm wrong, because you've got access to me. Huh? When you come to try and get access to the people who actually make any consequence to these things, often you're trying to get them to change the verbalization of how they describe it or define it, as opposed to how they measure it. You know, nobody's going to make any difference to how Earth gets measured. It does not need a defence council. But take that as a good thing. You didn't need to worry about it. You worrying about whether or not you were going to change the world, finding out that, oh, it was already like that. Yeah, so you didn't need to change anything. The people are like, eventually everybody will be in consensus. You're like, what? So that you think that because the ball, which isn't true, required a consensus to make it seem real, that Flat Earth needs the equivalence. Nah, Flat Earth doesn't need a consensus to agree with it. It's flat regardless of people's opinions, regardless of how they verbalise it, regardless of if they believe in it or not. It doesn't matter. The truth doesn't need a defence counsel. It is what it is. Now, you can sniff your own farts whilst pointing out that, well, your ball needs flat earth measurements. Check out this elevation angle. Check out this latitude grid. Check out this Cartesian system on your GPS. It's all flat. Ha, ha, ha. But then you've just become the thing you hate. You've become the adenoidal, snot-faced, irritating wanker at the bar that no one wants to talk to, haven't you? Now, at the moment, I'm relinquishing myself of all those flat earthers too. And it's costing me money. Like, literally, it's hurting my pocketbook. But I've got principles. Money is not my first priority and never has been for a very long time. So my priority is being true to myself and not wasting the precious little time I've got on God's flat earth. That's my priority. Now, I sincerely wish that on people who wish others well. That's to say, the good people, they deserve that enlightenment. And I'm going to provide it on a daily basis because I do make my living doing this. That doesn't mean that you are, now you know who I'm talking to, don't you, you unlikable little unfuckable golems. It doesn't mean I owe you anything. But it will mean they'll have to e-beg a bit more moving forward. You know, I do need more patronage to keep doing what I'm doing so that people can come to the subject, go, oh, right, it's not that serious. I've got no bearing on it. It's just measured flat anyway and always was. Yeah, if you're one of those people who values that information, join me on Patreon.
Yeah, I've gotten a few messages that are saying they're going to leave, they're unsubscribing, and they're going to leave the Patreon, and they will no longer support you. I'm like, really? All of this because the man's saying that it's not a big deal? It's just measured that way, so now everybody wants to pack it in and leave?
It's because they're not consequential to it. When it was in contrast, in requirement of a consensus, the whole world must understand and believe that Earth is flat for it to be flat, then they have a bearing on how many they've converted. How many people did you bring to flat Earth? Bring to the fact it was measured with a surface level anyway? It was measured with a surface level anyway. Their involvement in the discussion was irrelevant. But me pointing that out makes them less consequential. If your mission is to achieve consensus, have everybody understand how flat Earth is, and that there's been a lie that's been foisted upon them in their schools, then you're suddenly on a road that's righteous. You can justify your existence as being worthy. When I come along and go, actually, neither are true, because what's the worthiness? It's flat anyway. Yeah, I've told this story a few times. I'm arguing with my brother-in-law about how flat Earth is. This is going back 5 years. And while I'm arguing about how celestial navigation operates from a very limited understanding that I've been educated by 10th man with, my sister is nodding along. She's like, yeah. Like, why are you agreeing? She's like, well, you and I have been out on a boat holding sextants when I own boats. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that your former husband died and I kind of blocked a lot of that out of my life because it was very painful. But yes, we were, weren't we? She's like, yeah, well, that's just how it's measured. How you are describing it as flat is how it is measured. So she's not in a position to argue anymore because she's done it and paid to be trained in it. So she understood implicitly how flat Earth was at that very moment. She already knew and had prior arguments with me about how flat it wasn't, but always had been in command of the knowledge of how to measure Earth, to not die when at sea. So when it came to that bit pointing out, there was no further discussion to be had. The conversation ended there. Because what do you discuss? Well, what are you going to do? Argue with somebody who's actually measured it flat so that they don't die at sea and tell them that they're wrong? No, there's still plenty of navigators out there using GPS on its Cartesian grid. There's still people who are doing the manual version on maps that have got miles scaled that are flat and linear. The maps themselves are still flat. The charting and surveying of the world was done with respect to sea level. Sea level itself still been measured. You've got no bearing on it. Now, me telling them that they've got no bearing on it upsets them. They want to make a difference. Now, if I'm turning around and going, nah, I don't make any difference, what chance have they got?
I think it's similar to the stance you took, although different, when you took the stance with Glowbusters on what is and what isn't science. I mean, that was courageous. I mean, you stood up and you actually went against the flat earther. So now you're basically doing the same thing, but kind of in a different way. But you're actually doing the same thing, telling them it's not that important, guys. It's just measured flat. And anybody that's looking to continually argue about maps, about how this don't work on a flat earth and that don't work on a flat earth, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean that I won't continue to turn a small profit and keep my mortgage paid and the lights on by pointing out that all measurements only work on a flat earth. I can give you those nice little sound bites that are concise, tidbits that you can fall back on and don't need an advanced knowledge of heliocentrism to argue. Well, there isn't an argument, is there? If you understand this principle, you don't have to argue anymore. You instantly become Neo. You can instantly stop all the bullets. The bullets, by metaphor, being arguments. No. You understanding how flat Earth is measured is inconsequential, dweeb. Go away. Well, you owe me an answer. You've just said you're a flat earther, therefore I'm allowed to troll you and tell you to jump off tall buildings. I'm allowed to suggest that your kids should be taken away. I'm in need of answers. There's a destructive dichotomy to speak for. Go. Are you running away? This person gets their teeth kicked out, don't they? If they're in a bar.
What about the person that says you don't stand by any of your claims?
None of these are claims. Is it back to making it Nathan's? So I'm claiming elevation angles? How's that a claim? Is a mile a claim? So I'm looking at my map and I've got miles. Oh, hold on, there's a troll next to me. Explain the miles, they're not flat. Look, I've got a definition that says they curve. I'm just using a map. It's got a scale on it. What's that? You think that's my scale now and I've got to explain it? Well, if you take me away, lock me in Broadmoor, in a straitjacket, and the map's still on the table, flat, with a scale that's flat, ready to be used with distances, the flat. Did removing me change any of that? It didn't. So there's not an argument, because that would involve two people discussing something in contradictory positions. But there is no contradictory positions. Everybody's in alignment. We all measure Earth flat because it's measured flat. That's not an argument. That's a statement. A statement that you, as the audience member, will hopefully join me on Patreon to support. Because that is my message. There isn't an argument. Just measured flat. For everyone, without exception, in all circumstances. It doesn't need a defence counsel. How many Patreons do you reckon I'll gain from my little rant today? 1? 2?
They're dropping like flies. Everybody's deserting the ship. See, everybody's taking a victory lap. That's what the messages have been. The show's dying. Nathan's going to be out of it within 6 months. As soon as his book flops.
This doesn't sound like Patreons. So again, we're talking about people who are willing to lie. I get alerts when people desert me on Patreon, as you put it. No alerts. Nobody's dropping out. That's just not true. But they want to pretend that they're of influence, not in terms of measurements, but now in terms of my patronage. No, you're not. But you can create an impression that you're leaving, right? Because that's almost as effective, right? If the consensus says that everyone's deserting, no. That's not how it works. How it works is I'm putting out one message. My message is it's not that serious. It's just measured flat. Knowing about it won't change it. Not knowing about it won't change it. Believing in a ball requires it to be so. Flat, that is, measured flat to achieve your ball faith. Those are the facts in this matter. Not those are the contentious points that we will dispute. Oh, sorry, we're going to dispute how we acquire the radius value. No. It's set in stone. You don't have to like it. What's that? Oh, well, let's take it as read that it's measured flat. That's the end of our discussion, though, isn't it? And no, I don't. I want to continue to demand you have your time wasted. I'm like, no, I'm not going to take that demand anymore. Well, I'm going to desert you on Patreon. You weren't a Patreon. You're a liar. But there definitely are a silent majority who do absolutely, without question, value what I'm doing. I get plenty of messages in the positive, I just never talk about them. It's always the minority that get focused on. So I'm going to praise the people that have got patrons. I chat them out on every single show. Go and listen to the beginning of any Uncut and After show, and you'll hear the list get read out. Those are the facts. People absolutely, without question, do support me, have supported me, have kept the mortgage paid for 10 years, and I absolutely adore all of them. They're what make it worthwhile, the pleasant people. And I want more of them. There'll be a silent majority that go, yeah, I like this rhetoric. It's so simple. It's not, oh, right, well, if I understand how the distance to horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet is beyond the geometric limitations shown in this imagery with a horizon behind the oil rigs, you're like, well, that sounds quite complicated, doesn't it? Yeah, it is. What about if I said the distance is flat? That's not a contentious point. That's a statement of absolute fact. The distance in miles is flat. It's the end of the discussion. You didn't need any of the other shit that went around it, did you? Now, don't get me wrong. We need logical syllogisms to undo the cognitive bias that we had towards a ball. And that will often help people step off a ball. But their ball that they're stepping off required flat Earth measurements anyway, didn't it? And them stepping off it doesn't change anything, does it? If you get 100 million people to step off the ball that were formerly a member of the one world religion of heliocentrism, it won't change how flat the mathematics of ball faith are. They'll still be flat. If there's one ball Earth believer, he'll still need to measure a flat Earth to believe in that ball. So it doesn't matter if there's not a consensus for the ball. And the Earth measurements don't need consensus. That means they don't need you. It's just measured flat. It's not that serious. It's not for you to worry about. That's to say you don't need to explain to the next man how flat it is, because he won't make a difference either. How it's being dealt with was inconsequential to us as people. But that's liberating. Like I say, if you find that extremely concise and simple message that I will be putting forward and has been refined over the last month or so, and you like it, I like it, it's cheered me up no end. I've had an excuse to turn around and say to these unfuckable little golems who pester us constantly and constantly need our attention to get lost. Yeah, you're not worth our time. You're not having any bearing on this subject. Converting you won't change anything. Leaving you where you are won't change anything. Because there's nothing to change. He was flat anyway. If you like that, join me on Patreon. I'll continue to do it.
Well, you'll get all science is wrong, but you're right, showing that they're in a category error, because science has nothing to do with the measurements of Earth. And it's just people that are just hanging on to consensus. That's it. They like consensus. Consensus tells them on a globe, so they're going to stay there. But my question is this. So leave us alone then. I'm not coming to your show or whatever show you're involved in and leaving you messages. Why does it bother you that we choose to stay on flat Earth? Why do you must convert me? Like, what's your purpose? That's what I'm wondering about.
Like a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, we've just moaned about the flat Earth side of it, but there's still the very prevalent and definitely in greater numbers anti-flat Earth trolls that feel the exact same way. Like, I can say till I'm blue in the face that flat Earth doesn't need consensus because it's just how Earth's measured. But by contrast, the globe absolutely requires consensus. It's what it's based on. Their faith isn't based on measurements, is it? Now, we don't need a faith. We've got measurements, therefore it's not comparable. But for them, their faith is based on consensus. So everything we do is an affront to their belief. That's why they need our attention. Because they need us to believe as they believe. That's the reality of the circumstances. And they'll fight to the death to try and enforce the consensus, which we buck. That's it. Well, you're not going to change how Earth gets measured. Me being in consensus with you and agreeing with you won't change anything. Just out of interest, has Jaren moving back to the ball changed anything? I mean, well, there's one less flat earther. Okay. And what was achieved? You got the extra one on the consensus side. Earth's still measured flat though, it's not that serious. Didn't matter if he was part of either of the consensus. The one that's not needed because Earth's measured flat, or the one that is needed because Earth's definitely not ball-shaped, and the only way you can believe it is if you've got a consensus.
I posted something in Master B. It's globe Earth proof, Nathan. You should look at it. It says globe Earth proof right here.
I don't know what that means.
Somebody posted a picture, a 4-square picture of globe Earth proof.
Tell me what it is. There's an open door. This is a live show. Whoever it is that's posted that to Neil, just join the show and speak to us. We'll happily entertain your globe Earth proof that you suggest you've got. I mean, on screen now, we've got an elevation angle that creates the tangential plane designed to infer that there's a sphere Earth beneath your feet that's measured flat from within. So we understand how the globe gets created. The derivation of a radial value at an angle that's... Oh, sorry, I fell asleep for a second there, given how fucking boring this subject is.
Thing is about measurements, they have got measurements, but all the measurements are flat Earth measurements. 2 examples being Alberuni and Eratosthenes. I mean, how embarrassing is that? Now they're finding out that their globe proof, apparently, is a flat Earth measurement.
And I don't want to lord it over them. I'm saying go away. When I say keep your ball, I don't care. It's because I appreciate that we aren't in requirement of consensus. I don't need to convert the next man to believe as I believe. No. This is not based on belief. I'm not telling you it anymore because it is inconsequential whether or not you know. No, how flat it's measured, that is.
Distances aren't flat.
Yeah, they are. But again, this is some... who's making that bloody row?
Mike discipline.
Diego, can you go on mute?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Again, all this is doing, if you entertain these people, Neil, which you are, right, but it does make the point for me, so I'm not ungrateful for it, is including them in the suggestion that there's a debate. Sorry, what? Distances aren't flat. That invites you to say, yes, they are. Look at the map scale. Look how horizontal the scale is on the map for it to be applicable to the surface level with the altitudes with respect to the eye level parallel with the sea level. It is. But then you've suddenly invited them into the circle that they've decided to muscle their way into.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, get lost.
That's true.
Not flat
That's it.
measurements of distance. Get lost.
Yeah, that's what it is. And, okay, distances are flat. Can you leave me alone now?
No, it doesn't require that okay distances aren't flat. It's go away. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody asked you for your opinion. Your opinion is inconsequential to this. Nobody asked for it. Get lost.
But you're on the show and you talk about it all day. What do you mean? You talk about things and then when people want to respond, you won't let them respond. I can't take it no more.
No, we won't let you talk to us because you're genuinely unlikable. Yeah, this person who's ranting at Neil, you know, that's how they sound. You won't do this, you need it. No. You're not approaching us because you're pleasant. People like to spend their time that's precious with pleasant people that they like being in the company of. You aren't that. Well, you deserve to give me answers. No. You deserve a broken mouth if you don't bugger off, because I'm telling you, go away. Are you running away? What, you saying I'm in fear? Well, then I've got absolute justification in breaking your nose. Yeah? You want to say that I'm running away from you? Well, okay. So you're now admitting that you're putting me into fear, as far as you're concerned. Okay, well then I'm justified in stamping on your head. I'm just going to alleviate myself of this fear that you've created, regardless of me telling you, go away. Right? That's metaphorical to what would happen in reality. How would these people be treated in the bar? You're having a drink, you're minding your business, suddenly some unfuckable golem comes into the circle and starts demanding answers about the clutch. Why? Because you've had a hard day at the garage and now you're trying to unwind with a beer. But they say the clutch's tolerances aren't correct, and you're like, go speak to Ford. You've already made the mistake. Now you're engaged in that person's discussion. Not, Go away. Go away. Not go talk to Ford. They can do what they like, can't they?
To put it in a PC way, if you go down one layer, these people that we're telling to go away, they want to talk about everything other than how the earth is measured. So why talk to them?
Yeah. There's people who are sincere that want to talk about what we talk about, and will talk about it with us, not at us. And then I'm a subject matter expert. I'll talk about this all day long with you. All right, you're a pleasant person that I genuinely enjoy spending my time in the company of. Oh, yeah, of course I'll talk about flat Earth. Absolutely, I love this subject. It's wonderful. What's that? You deserve to give me answers. I say it's not a flat, linear, horizontal scale on a map. I'm not going to dignify it with, yeah, it is, because then I'm saying, oh, I'll embrace you. No, it's not. Go away. Oh, you're running away from how flat than horizontal they aren't. Second time. Go away. No, you're just scared of bang! Now you've got a broken face. Now you can crawl away.
All right, Nathan, just so we keep it on the show, Flat Earth Debate, can you ask a housekeeping question? I just want one housekeeping question asked.
Is there any evidence that Earth is measured anything other than flat?
Now's your chance to send your messages, dweebs. You heard it.
That's going to be the last chapter in the book. So what I describe in the book, and we did this chapter last, I think it's chapter 10 currently. The order may change, so it may not be chapter 10 if you're reading the book and going, I thought chapter 10 would be the question, any evidence that Earth is measured anything other than flat. What I do in that chapter is go right the way back to the beginning, literally to my very first hangout. So I've made my video about how the scale of the rocket ship that they said went into outer space wasn't matching the scale and size that they've reported it to be as a pre-recorded video. Now my wife and I are like, time for a hangout. Let's do it live and see who we garner as an audience. We garnered one guest, one audience member in the live chat, whose name was Robin Poe. And what Robin Poe eventually became was a guest on my first show called Flat Earth UK. And Robin Poe went through the motions of explaining how she'd measured distances as per the book that she was given to create relays to carry a signal around Ferrari, Italy. And at some point, there's a mountain in the way of one of the relays. So the 25 mile or whatever it was distance that the handbook said that she had to link up these relays with did not work. So she points her transceiver to the point source about 110 miles away and gets a perfect signal. Now, that is where she ends the discussion. My mother, who'd watched the show, said, but she didn't then go on and say, well, there's no Earth curve in the way. Now, she did later in the discussion, but she didn't tie it directly to her story about how there wasn't, that's in the negative, any curve blocking her line of sight. Now, with that story in tow, I can iterate in that question about how the Earth has no other measurements but the flat ones, with the final housekeeping question, is the Earth measured anything other than flat? How in her story she used her height off the surface level, the height of the mountain in the way of the relay, the distance in a linear format for the relays at 25 miles, and the overall distance without any blockage that's measured flat at 110 miles. And without the story, you can just say 110 miles is flat. That's it. That's the end of any discussion. No need for a story about relays. No need to describe how high off surface level, that's sea level measurements, you are to have a mountain obscure your relay. No need to describe pointing the transceiver 110 flat Earth linear horizontal miles away. You're not getting any curve blockage from. All of it becomes redundant when you understand how the story, in spite of you might say, oh, well, that's because we're seeing too far. The ionosphere's bending the signal. Whatever your excuse is, the measurements are flat. Now, they'd been flat if she'd have said that the ionosphere bent the signal. They'd have been flat if she said there's no Earth curve in the way. They're flat. It's a necessity to tell the story. Now, when you know that, like I've done in the most recent chapter we edited, you are summarising how redundant the social interaction between people discussing a lack of Earth curve becomes when you intrinsically understand how all measurements rely upon an axiomatic principle of horizontality. Those are facts. They're not discussion points. And if you're going to pretend there's a discussion to be had, both sides must accept these flat Earth prerequisites. That's it. We've come full circle. We've come from, we were taught we were on a ball, we recognised how ball-shaped it isn't, to we recognised how flat the ball-shaped measurements we said that weren't required Earth to be measured. All of which required and always utilised flat Earth prerequisites to tell the story about how we were on a ball and to tell the story of how we weren't. So we've come full circle. It only took 12 years. Again, join me on Patreon if you like this very simplistic message. Earth is measured flat for everyone, always and without exception. Well, doesn't time fly?
Just going back to that question. So just going back to your question, I asked the same question to somebody a few days ago, and they still get mixed up with there's a difference between measurements and calculations, because the answer I got was Eratosthenes was a very intelligent mathematician and he calculated Earth's circumference. And I was asking for measurements.
Yeah. But again,
but the calculations have to adhere to the measurement. We've said this many a time over.
I'll say the same thing again. Once that guy that you're talking about understands and appreciates how flat Earth must be measured, what difference will he make? So let's say we carry this on hypothetically to the end conclusion. The guy finds out Earth's flat and how flat Earth was measured for Eratosthenes to calculate the sphericity into existence. So he understands. He kowtows to it. He appreciates it. He gets on bended knee and thanks Wandek for explaining how flat Earth must be measured for his belief in a ball. Then what? To what avail? To what conclusion? To what benefit to humanity? Well, none. This guy, now understanding how flat Earth was always being measured, made no difference to how flat Earth was always measured, does it? Doesn't make any difference. But with that, I will say, if you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Be sure to join me on Patreon if you haven't done so already.
We're not in Discord.
Yeah, they send you private messages throughout the whole weekend. I get them. It's like, oh my God, give it a rest. I know you all want a piece of Nathan.
That was funny though. You said the other day you got one of not Professor Phil. I got the same one on the same day.
Oh, see, it must have been driving him crazy.
Yeah.
We're not going over there and telling them, listen, Earth is not a globe. Get off the globe. Earth is flat. I don't care. So why are they coming here? It's like, are we that disturbing to you? But it's like Nathan says, when someone leaves the Jehovah's Witness or someone leaves freaking Scientology, they got to get you back. Or they blacklist you.
Psychological. It's all psychological. This no.
Yeah, and really, if you think about it, what's the big deal? Why is it so psychologically hard for them? So your whole life you thought you lived on a globe, and you were living where you were living. Now it's flat. How is that psychologically damaging?
I know. But it is, we've spoke about this, the behaviour, the argument, keep going, beliefs being challenged, cog dis. We've seen it for real, to talking nonsense. They know they're talking nonsense, just want the argument. So I forgot where I was going then, but yeah, you get the point, I think.
There's people that believe ghosts are real and Bigfoot are real. I don't see people knocking down their doors. Right?
Yeah.
What is it
Yeah,
with
we've
this
said it.
topic?
I know. We've said it before. And we're saying it now. We know it's measured flat. We're happy with that. We don't have to get involved with arguing about it. We know how it's measured. We can talk about it and describe that and show evidence for it. Now, if you want to believe you live on a globe, just carry on believing you live on a globe and get on with your life. You don't have to get, have a psychological dilemma about it and come in here threatening people and behaving like lunatics. Just get on your globe and float around the vacuum of space. Because that's what you want to do.
If you really confronted Bigfoot, you know he's real, right? I seen him. He's real. We actually had a conversation. He's pretty intelligent for a hairy guy. But would you feel like you had to tell the whole world that the Bigfoot existed and you had a conversation with him? They would think you're a lunatic, right?
Well, that's the globe by comparison, though. We used to use that analogy like it was us talking about Bigfoot and, oh, well, people are out there talking about Bigfoot, like we're comparable. It's like, no, the fact that the consensus believes in Bigfoot, that's what we're actually contrasting it with now. No, you're the ghost believers.
Yeah, but they're losing their mind, Nathan. It's like it gets to the point where, like, all right, get over it already.
It's because they're losing any semblance of control they perceive themselves to have. They thought that they had the ability to control this scenario by debating with us and showing that we were wrong. We're turning around going, we don't have any influence over this. Even if you did convince us, so we change our position like Jaron. Does that change anything? No, it didn't change anything. Still measured flat. Didn't make any difference. The consensus doesn't have any bearing on it. Just because the globe required consensus doesn't mean we do.
Oh, yeah, listen to this. More disinfo. Eratosthenes' formula for calculating the Earth's circumference is based on the proportional relationship between the shadow angle observed in Alexandria and the distance to Cyrene. The formula is resulting in which Eratosthenes calculated as 5,000 stadia. 50 equals 250,000 stadia. That's all flat.
Yeah, stadia is flat.
The angle you used, flat. The distance, flat. Unless you could show me anything about arc distances.
Yeah, this is what I was saying before, but I mean, I was pointing out like how embarrassing. It must just be so embarrassing for them now. So when they finally click on that example is actually demonstrating and describing how an elevation angle measurement is measured and using the surface of Earth, and a distance measurement between 2 points, a linear distance measurement. It's got nothing to do with a curved measurement. And exactly. They're realizing this, and it's like, what? I mean, it must be devastating now.
Well, this person that posted this to me is not realizing it. Oh, he is, and he's just being a numpty. But yeah, once you say distance between two areas, like point A and point B on a flat map, that distance. Yeah. Welcome to flat Earth.
Yeah, you don't give the measure in degrees, you give it in a linear function. So it's not a curve.
Oh dear, here we go again. Yeah, you're being accused of being dishonest too, Refracted. You're right up there with Nathan.
Well, because I know how basic geometry works.
No, because you will not engage in measured flat destructive dichotomy that was put together.
So the measured inch destructive dichotomy has as much validity, huh?
An inch isn't an argument.
But they see, but that's the whole thing. If you take them to the origin of the inch, the inception of the inch, it's not arced, and it ends right there. I wouldn't be able to take one true measurement, John. That's what I said in the pre-show. A lot of times when you're in the workplace and you take a measurement, and let's say the foreman calls down and says, "Hey, you got that measurement? Is it true?" Yeah. So, but that statement alone, measurement, is to know, right? And to know is truth, right? When you got a true
Yeah,
measurement, go ahead.
the true measurement means like you ain't just making this up. The measurement itself is not doesn't have, you can't put it in the truth. It's just a fact.
Yeah, it's almost like
No,
saying,
see,
did you estimate this? So if they say, well, how big's the room? And you go, I don't know, 14 foot. Is that true? Well, I've not actually measured it. It just looks about 14 foot.
no, you say true because you measured it.
Yeah, so it's not that you've eyeballed it and had a guess.
Right. Exactly. But it's interesting that you use these phraseology. And I wouldn't be able to measure anything if I had to work off an arc. How it's just like it don't fit. I wouldn't be able to make any measurements.
Yeah, an inch doesn't arc. It is that simple. Neither does a foot, neither does a yard, neither does a mile.
Right. They're all linear at birth, right? At its origin. So the argument is over right there. If there was an argument to have, measurements kill everything, blow everything out of the water. And that's what the problem is. People still want to be in here. They still want to devote 24/7 to freaking proving Earth is flat and telling you how it's not a globe when it all ends with the measurement. Starts with the measurement and ends with the measurement.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's been a journey to get to that point. How many years did we spend arguing about Coriolis and gravity? Stuff like that. Like Nathan says, it's just boring. Like, well, to a certain extent, but once you know now, you know. Simple.
But why is it causing others such an amount of pain that they're willing to just freaking send message after message? I mean, it's not making any sense to me. Go on your merry way. You deny measurements.
It's
Okay.
It's nearly, we said it, if they keep the argument going, there's hope for them that there's still a debate and they could still get their point across and win the argument, which there isn't even an argument or a debate.
It's it right there. You know, there's not an argument to have. They're appealing to us to argue with them so they can have the perception of an argument. No, don't waste your time. It's useless. Just is what it is, man.
Yeah, we've got to start detaching ourselves from this social aspect of flat Earth that's been created. I mean, it is hard because I bought into it too. Like, I'm going to change the world. And then when you find out that you can't, you literally can't, because it's flat and measured such, and changing it would mean altering how it was already being dealt with. But it does mean that you accept and understand in that process that it's flat anyway. You didn't need to change the world if your objective was to change the world to it being understood as being flat, when it's being dealt with as flat anyway. Suddenly you become redundant, but that's going to leave you with a hollow, empty feeling if your purpose in life was to convert people to your belief in a flat Earth. When it stops being a belief, there stops being a need to convert people to it.
Well said.
Well, I am questioning the argument from the self-proclaimed subject matter expert. It's not personal. He says he's a subject expert. If you have an inability to answer, then you should leave with your tail between your legs, Nathan.
So he's telling me to go away. So yeah, like always, I come up with the rhetoric, and the trolls think that they can steal the rhetoric and use it against me. It's very amusing.
Well, you say you hate flat earthers. I've never heard you say you hate flat earthers. That's just an outright lie.
No, I describe myself as one.
Now, we despise the people that are going to continue to debate about nonsense when it's measured flat. We're trying to help you. Now, I don't think that's hate. I hate the freaking techniques they use because there's no technique needed in a measurement.
Right.
Or why are we talking about 9/11 when we're speaking about flat Earth? Now, I don't hate them. I freaking cringe at the methods they use because when you're doing that, you're just putting flat Earth as a conspiracy. One deck faced it one in real time with a lady he was talking to. They went through different conspiracies and boom, flat Earth comes up. Isn't that a coincidence? Same thing with my younger brother, the one that makes the toys. He listened to one of the shows, and he's been communicating with me. And everything he's asking me is all conspiracy stuff. So I'm trying to get it across to him, like, forget about all that stuff. Just focus on the measurements. We measure Earth's flat. Nothing else means anything.
Yeah, but Neil, if you can obtain an elevation angle off a hill, there's always a chance that the Earth is a globe.
How high is the hill?
It's approximately
27,000 feet.
From sea level?
Well, yeah.
You mean sea level?
But that's again what they do, Eli. We rather try and take it away from the actual topic of what we're talking about, how Earth's measured, and start. We want to argue about can you obtain an elevation angle off a hill? Let's waste some time on that.
The elevation angle is not with respect to a hill.
No.
Oh dear.
No, you're going to be needing the horizontal for that elevation angle, I'm afraid.
Then you get the topper of them all. 48 watching, user leaking.
Wouldn't matter if nobody was watching. Doesn't change how the Earth's measured.
Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. Again, your view of how this dices up into view count, like it's a representation of the consensus. Well, it's not in need of consensus. It wouldn't matter if I was the only person talking about it, because everybody who's measuring it is still measuring it flat, even if every single one of them are in consensus belief of a ball.
True, and even more true than that is even if nobody was talking about it, it doesn't change it.
Yeah. Yeah, correct, because it's not about how we linguistically communicate it. Like, it doesn't need communicating. It is measured that way.
What are our celestial? What is FED's cell nav numbers? I'm still trying to figure that out. You should understand that pi equals 2 is the consequence of the 10th man bridge you bought. It's what it must be to support your FED cell navigation numbers.
Sorry,
That sounds like
sorry.
we're trying to
What's
construct.
what's an FED cell nav number?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Nathan Oakley number, not FED.
Oh, how sweet. So they've ascribed this to me, have they? They think cell nav's mine. Oh, these
Hold on.
idiots.
10th man
They're trying
was
to
reading
construct a
from a
model.
global book. Sorry, John, go ahead.
They're trying to construct a model where that they have a globe and we have a disc, and they have the Earth curve that's real, and we have flat. There's a dichotomy there. What they're trying desperately to do.
But the initial measurement was an elevation angle measurement using sea level as the baseline, wasn't it? I think.
Yes, and 10th man was reading from manuals that I don't think a flat earther made these manuals up. I'm pretty sure.
Well, because those manuals didn't directly address the contradiction that they were putting forward with the idea that they live on a sphere, therefore it's a glob.
Hang on, I mean, they did have the dangling dingleberries plastered all over the pages, just to throw that in there. And the mathematical tangent lines.
It would be like getting a geometry textbook, right, and putting crosses all over it and saying it's Christian because there's crosses all over it. What? But it's still teaching you math.
Another whole week of this repetitive rhetoric, pleading the victim as an incompetent subject matter expert who has never done anything, pleading at a handful of people over and over, day after day, that he cannot be asked to support his claims. The east-west tangent of the compass is how you at FED measure an angle to a curve when heading around the curve of FE east or west.
No, that's not. That's not the same thing as what he's trying to imply. But he can go on thinking that. It doesn't matter.
They're really uptight. And they're uptight and in pain and on both sides, the flat earth side, the globe earth side, and I guess the ones that are like caught up in the middle of this.
It's almost like they're angry at us for them not able to debate a fact.
What you should do, Nathan, is a patent on one of these like Alexa things where you can ask questions. Just call it the Nathan Oakley, get your head, and it's just a flat Earth piece of software, so they can just argue with that all day.
Listen to this one. This one is vicious. Nathan got muted and called a pedo in the center of flat earth hangout, full of flat earthers. You are backing further up your desolate cul-de-sac. The flat earthers are not supporting you. That will be seen in the book failure. They're praying that the book flops.
Wow. And that'll make the Earth a glob then, huh?
Yeah. Boring. And then you got boring question mark. That includes you and the panel. After all, you don't have a book to retire behind. You still want to preach the word. A subject matter expert, question mark. That's an invitation to personal engagement by presenting oneself as the expert. If you looked at the argument honestly, you would realize the destructive dilemma you have put yourself in. Did we put ourselves in anything?
I've not put forward an argument. What is he talking about?
They're trying to put us in the pi equals 2 dilemma. Like, all we're saying is Earth is measured flat. Right? These circumferences, they're not, I didn't come up with them. I didn't come up with any of these measurements. We're just saying that we can prove Earth is measured flat, right? Through celestial navigation, through surveying, through flight. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, all measurements are with respect to a plane. That's a statement of fact.
Right.
I am not interested in pi as it pertains to that measurement because it's not part of the measurement. So what's the point?
Exactly. And that's our stance. But they want to pull us into this freaking pi equals 2 and one deck is right because they want to pull you back into an argument. And we're just saying, no, thank you.
Well, it's always been the case that to build a globe, first you must argue to ignorance, right? You got to reach ignorance first of knowledge that you have, and then use that knowledge to build the globe with. So that's what they're trying to do now is destroy knowledge, which I think may be a sin if you're Christian.
Yeah, and that's just it, John. You can't destroy knowledge. You can only pervert it, but it can never be destroyed. But they really want this book to be a failure, though. Go ahead, Refractors.
I was just going to say one of my favorite magic tricks is the one where they zoom in on a curve meeting a straight line, right? They zoom in until the computer can no longer resolve the difference in a curve and a line, right? And then they'll draw that symbol that represents an angle and ask you if that's an angle. So when you say yes, they'll zoom out and that arc they drew becomes a lie. So they lie to you. You know what I mean? It's a real dishonest way of doing something. And they try to make it seem like it's your fault that they lied to you.
When they zoom in and they ask you, is it an angle? Is it 2 straight lines? Yeah. It's an angle? No, it's not an angle.
So they zoom in until the computer can no longer resolve it, right? So it just appears like 2 lines, but it's not. It's a curve and a straight line. And then they put that arc in there with the degrees symbol usually follows with the number. They'll put that in there so you'll think in your mind you're looking at, instead of just saying, I don't know. I don't see enough to know. It's a dirty trick.
But as soon as you say yeah, because it does look like 2 straight lines, then the Earth's obviously a globe.
Listen to this one. 3 90-degree angles make a triangle on a globe. Impossible on a flat anything. No debate. We win.
There are no angles on the globe.
Can you get any angle on a globe refracted?
No, you get angles from straight lines. Now, if you had a ball, you could make points of intersections from a radius but that still wouldn't be the angle you draw because you did quadrant-based system for the angle, and those are straight lines. So, yeah, that ain't helping them none either.
It's an interesting phraseology. We win. Oh, really? What did you win? Can you show me? Not rhetorical. What did you win? What did you get?
Insulted, demeaned, kicked out of society.
Oh, you're answering from the flat earth perspective. I was going to ask that next. My intonation was aimed towards the people talking to Neil, which is to say, you say 390s only on a globe, laughable. But nevertheless, therefore you win. Okay. What'd you win? What'd you get? You've convinced me. Okay, 390s only works on a globe. Okay, yeah, okay. But then you said you won. Is it that you win a perception that if I'm on a pedestal up here as the authority, you can knock me off? Notice how they're leaning into me calling myself the subject matter expert. Yeah, you need to, don't you? Yeah? Because then I'm on a pedestal you can knock off and you can win. What you win? What'd you get?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true that. Like, they don't want to, it's got the point that they just want to have been perceived to have won you over in something, and then their mind's at ease, and everything's okay, and the Earth's a globe because I got Nathan Oakley to concede something about a triangle working on a sphere.
It's crabs in a bucket mentality. So by pulling me down, they think they're succeeding and winning. That's why I've avoided saying I wish Simon Dan less success on YouTube or whoever. As a YouTuber, you're like, no, I wish you every success. Good for you, right? Because it's to my detriment. It's crabs in a bucket mentality. If I say, I wish you'd fail, they're doing it. They're saying, I hope your book doesn't succeed. Okay, so if you pull me back into the bucket, which is all they're trying to do. We're in a bucket full of globers. We want you to be in the bucket too. You're trying to climb out of the bucket. I hope you fail. That's what they're doing. They're like, so is my failure, because that's what you're wishing for, going to mean you win? What did you win? Okay, so let's say you get your wish. I sell no copies. Nobody buys any. What you win? What you get? Can you show me? All right, it's just you being a little crab in a bucket, trying to yank anybody who climbs out back in. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Well, that's not winning. You're deluded.
No, let me remind you what happens to all of those crabs, too. They all wind up getting boiled. But here's the thing. Yeah, you said the same thing yesterday and the day before and the day before. Okay, so why are you here then? Same rhetoric over and over, day in and day out.
Because it bothers them that we're saying it. So that's why they're here.
But then when you're challenged, you say there's no debate. We're never challenged. There's no challenging a measurement.
Back to making us the important point of the claim to be discussion point. When you say there is no, I'm saying I have no influence over the measurements. So me saying surface level, eye level, sea level, me saying those things have no bearing on what those things are. If I define them and write them down and get them published, again, it really makes no difference. They are what they are. Yeah, so if I sell no copies of my book, doesn't matter. Surface level's still level. Sea level's still level. Eye level's still parallel. Those things are axiomatic to how Earth gets dealt with. I didn't have any bearing over those things. It would be, arrogant for me to suggest that I had any influence over them. Can I call myself a subject matter expert? Absolutely yes, without question. I am. But do I have any bearing on any of those things? Am I influential over those things? Now, I've got to accept my ineffectual nature when it comes to the actual cause, because there isn't one. It's not a scientific endeavour. It's a utilisation of Earth's surface. It is flat. I'm just describing it. Here's a few diagrams that show you how ball Earth came into existence with those measurements. Well, you've got to accept that pi equals 2 then. No, I don't. And even if I did, what would you win? Would you get something if I suddenly go, oh yeah, as a consequence of us pointing out how ball-shaped it isn't, by way of these flat earth measurements, the ball utilises, that means pi equals 2, says you. Okay, what's the prize? Do I get a prize? Oh, it's just being around you, someone who wishes I would fail, like a crab in a bucket. I don't like you. I'd sooner cause you pain than be around you. You don't wish me well. You're not a pleasant person to be around. But you're telling me how you don't like the rhetoric that's repetitive. So why are you still here? This is a good opportunity for us to point this out. What you're saying, people are deserting us currently. Yeah, I know that. It's a calculated endeavour. That is to say, I know that we are moving on to different pastures very shortly. Like I'll be out on a little gravy train looking for people to purchase my book, and that will entice new people to this channel. Well, I'd rather that the old wood was all burnt. That's it, your old wood.
Well, I put something in Master B, but listen to this. A horizon on a sphere is a circle. It can be shown by holding a glass against a globe. The same circle we see sideways from the surface. A circle sideways looks flat. Conclusion. A horizon on a sphere looks flat. Flurfs, now stop your nonsense, please.
What the hell is he talking? So is a radius arc now, genius? So you got an arc radius? Stupid. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody suggest is true.
Yeah, they got
Am I
a
lying?
picture. They got a picture of a globe. I put it in Master B with a glass against it and a red circle, and they're claiming that that's the horizon.
A circle is defined by its radius. What's the radius of their circle?
The radius is flat.
Oh boy. It's the same thing, Mondex, right? They show you pictures on a piece of paper and examples on a piece of paper and tangents that don't exist in reality. That's all they got. And we just go outside and we look and we see the horizon. And it's flat and level, right? We don't have to figure out how it works on a globe.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. There are no horizontal lines on a globe. Stupid too. Who
Well,
would suggest that?
Right, but in their this and in their freaking in their mind, this picture works perfectly. Everything's a good one. We're back on the globe.
There is a geometric obstruction if you stood on a sphere and looked down with respect to the horizontal plane. You would see a ball having a geometric obstruction to things behind it from your line of sight. That's not a horizon.
But here we are back in the argument again.
No, pointing out the void nature of their argument does not invite argument. It just voids their argument.
Yeah, but we're still entertaining their argument, aren't we?
To make fun of it? Is that, well, I mean, yeah. Really have to do that.
Yeah, the
It's
problem with
void.
that, I think Neil's saying, is that these people are masochists and they get off on you doing that. You taking the piss out of their argument is just as good. They'll take that. It's like narcissistic. Doesn't matter if the supply is positive or negative.
Exactly. They're just getting attention.
At the moment it's red, though, doesn't that give it attention?
Well, I've got an audience,
yeah.
so I'm grateful that this is the case. Doesn't mean that at the end of the statement we still say we don't want to talk to you about this, because you're talking to me about it, aren't you? You're talking to Neil about it. People you like. Now, the fact that that's been introduced to the conversation by this person in their mind, that gives them justification to stay in the circle. Like, no, we still want you to go away. We still don't like you because you're fundamentally unlikable. The fact that you've introduced this, we can't switch off our ears when you're yelling into them. But we're telling you go away, and then once you've gone, we'll discuss what we want to discuss. Now, that means that it's in the forefront of our mind because you put it there. That doesn't mean that we suddenly have an obligation to them as individuals. But yeah, we are going to discuss this. It's what we discuss. The fact that there's contrary points being put to us that are then being shown to be ludicrous and void is our prerogative. We can do whatever we want. But they think they're the arbiters of it. That's the problem.
Yeah, they're appealing to a truth that they don't have against an authority that they can't resist.
Well put.
Oh, I like that one. Repeat that.
You can't, can you?
What? They're appealing to a truth they don't have against an authority they can't resist.
Yeah, that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, and in place of truth, they need consensus. It seems appropriate where we're going, how this discussion is ending, because the truth should have and always could have stood on its own without any intervention from us. And that is precisely how it should be. The truth should always be as is and not really need any defence. You know, the truth will out, as they say.
Yep, and all measurements are true. I'm just thinking I stopped counting over the weekend about 45. I stopped counting how many times I got a message on my screen while trying to watch something else. I can imagine how many derogatory statements you get thrown at you, Nathan.
Well, that's why I'm standing over here so Nathan can draw all the flag. I wouldn't have nobody to talk to if that wasn't the case.
But it's just turned out to be a bad reflection on those individuals. Like, I can turn around and go, these people have told me my kids should be removed, my balls should be cut off, and I should jump off a tall building because I'm not worthy of the air that I'm breathing. What's that? That sounds like an exaggeration. Okay, well, here's 50 examples of each one of those. Justifying how unlikable the people we deal with are. How it's totally justifiable that we wouldn't want to spend any time in their company, or offer them or dignify responses to their questions that they feel that they're entitled to answers for.
I got this one over the weekend. All right. It was what's his name? I forgot. You don't recognize it. The horizontal proof of globe will need to be talked about. You can't keep letting Nathan use the aggressive approach for 2,500 more shows, can you? He's driving people away. How long do you think this can last? You should come and talk. We both learned something, I'm sure of it. I think we're similar age. You know the message by Good Morning, Flash Right, the Melly Melly Classic. Tell me what you think. And I got a whole video that they want me to respond.
They got a horizontal proof of globe. Oh my God.
Yeah, and then it says, listen and make your own judgment. And I haven't listened to it. I really don't care. But this is a Bevite. Bev, try thinking. What makes him think that because I'm a similar age, I would want to have a conversation with him? I don't like you, Bev.
His horizontal proof of globe is a good summary of all the reasons I don't want to have anything to do with those people.
Exactly. Exactly. Horizontals prove globe. He says it on freaking last time we were at Riggs server. It's like, are you serious? You're really seriously saying this on the air?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if there's ever been a situation similar to this in history. Like the guy that invented the inch, right? And first, put the concept to the aspect of reality that we utilize in measurement. It'd be like putting him in one of those old medieval traps where it holds your head in your hands and letting people throw rotten vegetables at him for it. And somehow that makes an inch not real, or, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't want to hang out with those people.
Stocks.
Yeah, that's what they want to do to us. They want to put us in stocks and throw stuff at us, and that'll make it. I don't know. I don't know what that's doing for me. Nothing. I don't want to be around them.
Trying to be cool, appealing to Melly Mel. Please don't.
We'll take a mile.
Hopefully we'll do a bit of booking when my wife gets back from tennis.
I want to say this real quick, and then I got to go. There's only 3 reasons you should ever talk to us the way that these people do. 1, you're completely ignorant of the topic, and you're just talking out of just a position of complete ignorance. 2, you're a piece of crap, and you're a liar because you know better, and you're saying it anyway. Or 3, you're retarded. There's only 3 ways to go. You're incapable of understanding. Retarded. But those are only 3 ways that this is, in my mind, even possible that it's happening.
Well, hold on. One Beck was saying that he listened to freaking a Bev video from years ago, and Bev was nailing a surveyor. So what happened to him?
When you look like a scarecrow, you've got to cook to society to be accepted in some small manner. You can't brace against it. There's certain people who can get away with going, nah, I'm going to be the alpha in this scenario, and I don't care if you desert me. I will garner other individuals to understand and appreciate what I'm putting down, regardless of whether or not you do. Then there's the people who look like scarecrows. They're not afforded that privilege, are they? And that's what we're basically dealing with. The people who oppose us, as a general rule, aren't the people that can garner that kind of respect in a normal social setting. They just can't. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to cook to it. The society that needed a consensus for the view to be true. They're going to cook to that consensus because they want the consensus to believe with them. They want to be on the side of the consensus. They want people to like them. And like we were discussing 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the cool kids, the cool kids are the kids that don't care if you like them. They're not trying to cook to any consensus. Now, normally that results in people going, that guy's cool. Like, yeah, because he doesn't care if you think he's cool or not. Weird how it works, isn't it? Same with the women when we did it 3 weeks ago. The woman that's got the guy snivelling and snotting all over her going, oh, you're so beautiful. Why won't you listen to me? I've written a little poem about how beautiful you are and what a great husband I'll make you. And the woman just goes, ugh, go away. And then there's a different guy, might look exactly the same, that's sat at the bar doing his thing, not paying her any attention. And she goes, why aren't you paying me any attention?
Believe it or not, that's why gay guys have so much luck with women.
Because they ignore them.
It's crazy.
Look, if they don't pay him no attention, you're right. That happened to me in real time. If you don't pay him attention, they want to know why. Everybody else is. Why are you not?
On that rather homosexual note, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining me on Patreon, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.